Good morning. It's time for your morning latte. Woo! First of all, happy Lunar New Year to all who celebrate. I figure this would be I mean, this is a great way to pass the new year, I think. You know, playing, I mean, not playing, I guess. We're chatting about my favorite game. I'm spending it all alone because everyone's at school or whatever, right? I am on break, so I can't do anything, so that's why I'm here. And we're talking about Genshin Impact. Um, for those of you who don't know, I'm playing for a bit. Don't want to bet it since the day bit for me, so watch the VOD when I wake up. Hopefully that will be good. I'll do my best. I structured it out a little bit. And I didn't want to make it like too like broad, I guess. I don't know. There's a lot to talk about, and so I try to like narrow it down a little bit and like talk about things that I think are really important and matter. And for context, in case you aren't aware, I'm sure there's like, hold on, let me start the music real quick. Yeah. Okay, whatever. This works. This is not like something expected, but that's okay. But yeah, for those of you who don't may or may not know, those who may not have the context, Genshin Impact is my favorite game. I know I play a lot of games on this channel, and I've never played Genshin Impact, but Genshin Impact is my favorite game, and I played it a lot. I don't know how many hours I have in that one, but that's a lot. It's a lot of games for sure. But yeah, I mean, I'm just like looking through my notes right now. I kind of like threw together a really small PowerPoint in about like 5 minutes before the stream started because I figured it'd be easier to do it this way compared to like googling the videos as we are looking for them, so all this really is like a little compilation of some of the things I wanted to talk about, right? And also as a disclaimer, I don't really know everything in this game, right? I don't think anyone really knows everything about their favorite game. I mean, if you do, like, props to you, right? But Genshin Impact, even though it's my favorite game, I've been playing it for 5.5 years now. I feel like there's still a lot that I'm missing and a lot of like context that I don't have, cause like it's like when you like read a book, right? You might experience the story for the first time. How could you not know everything? I'm just saying. Like, I don't know. For me, it's like reading a book, right? You read the book the first time, you're just like, oh, that was a cool story, right? But then you read it again with the context that you had from reading the book the first time. And then suddenly you go into it like a fresh pair of eyes and new context. And like, or maybe you learn more about like why the author wrote the book, right? And then suddenly it makes a lot more sense why the book is the way that it is, and it gives you a new perspective on it, right? And that's kind of how I feel about the story of Genshin Impact. I feel like there's a lot to be discussed in that sense. Hit Nandeyo, it's so true. You're so right. But yeah, no. So for like a lot of reasons, I think Genshin Impact is really like a deep game, right? I always like to spend a lot of time to like discuss the game's philosophy and like think about that because I think that is like truly one of the strongest points of this game, right? I think you could criticize a lot of the story or like you criticize like I don't know the game aspect of it. I don't know. I don't know. But like I think the strength of the narrative really lies in the way that they express their themes and their ideas, right? Even if it's not like perfectly portrayed all the time. I played Holiday for the third time. Exactly. You always learn something new, right? Especially in games or meet stories where the message isn't so explicitly told to you, right? Like yeah, there's always something new. There's always something new, right? It really goes to show like how much care is put into gaming as a medium, right? I have a lot of thoughts about that as well. But anyway, that's not really the point. The point is this specific game, it stole my soul about like 5.5 years ago, and I haven't been the same since. So anyway, I also want to talk about real quick of like how I guess like under the preface, like this game is a very philosophical game to me. Like I think talking about a lot of the other aspects of the game, like from a gaming standpoint, I feel like a lot of games are talked about for like their like graphic fidelity, I guess. Congrats on the sponsorship stream. I'm not sponsored. I wish I was. It wouldn't it be really nice? I feel like Genshin hasn't really sponsored anyone in a long time though. Maybe that's just me. Anyway, sorry. I think the thing is like I want to talk about most today though is like the philosophical aspect of it, right? I feel like most stories have a moral to it, but it's kind of rare that a piece of medium. It sounds really intense for the moment. But anyway, a lot of games like to have a moral, right? But I feel like one thing that Genshin is unique in is how because of how big it is, it gets to have so many different kinds of philosophy that they get to discuss, right? And I think that's really cool, right? Like this game, if you guys aren't aware, there's a lot of references to global, cultural, historical, religion, starting with consciousness. Think I'll go to bed now. You have a moderation. Have fun. No worries. Enjoy your sleep, and I hope you wake up tomorrow. yeah. Enjoy that. But yeah. So one thing I want to like, I guess I mean, there's a couple things I want to talk about before we like really get started, quote unquote, so to say, right? Some like background information that's relevant, is that the story is very much a collection of like human history almost, right? It's a lot of perspective. It gives a lot of perspective on like life, culture, theology, right? And one of the main inspirations for the game is based on Gnosticism, right? Which is like if you don't know theology, that's fine. I didn't know anything about theology before I started Genshin Impact. I think theology is really interesting now. I don't know. It's funny how that works. I'm an atheist. I've been an atheist for so long. Like pretty much my whole life. I grew up in a Christian kind of setting, and then I decided I really didn't like it, right? And so I've been an atheist ever since. But I guess like the idea of religion is really interesting to me, right? Something about having like the faith in a higher being to like guide you and inspire you to do good things, right? I think that's really cool and nice. This really is like the wrong song for this situation. Maybe I'll skip it. This probably works. I don't know. I think like religion is an interesting topic to me. I think there's a lot of people who clown on religion for a lot of reasons, and I think a lot is very valid because like by kind of like giving what do you call agnostic, not atheist. I mean that is true, right? I don't know. I haven't really like thought specifically about my personal beliefs on religion and like theology and all that, right? Because for me personally, I don't really find the meaning in a higher being, right? For me, my life is about like what I do and what I want to do, right? Maybe there is a higher force, maybe not. I personally don't feel like there's that pull, right? But I'll do what I end up doing, right? I guess it's the kind of vibe. I don't really have feelings about a higher being for myself. But I think it's interesting that other people believe in it, Right. But I was gonna say, like, I think a lot of the time religion is used as a tool for people to offload, like, atrocity, essentially, right? A lot of people do really bad things in the name of religion, and a lot of people do really good things in the name of religion, right? I think it's two sides of the same coin, and like whether or not it's good, I don't think it's up for us to decide. What is more important is just like it gives people, or like it makes people feel like happiness, I guess, to feel like. I mean, sometimes, sometimes it gives people happiness to like believe in a higher being, right? It gives them people hope that things will become better, right? And I think that's really cool. I think that's fantastic. And like religion is like whether you like it or not, a really fundamental part of the human lived experience. And I think that in itself, because gods are shaped by people, is a really fascinating aspect of religion. Western religion is fanaticism and cultism. I don't think it's exclusive to religion though, is a thing, right? Things that happen like fanaticism, like cultisms, they're not exclusive to religion, right? There's a lot of cults that are not religious, for example, and there's a lot of fanaticism that isn't religious or fanatic or cultish, right? Like I feel like that's just a natural result when it comes of like you don't have enough diversity of thought. Anyway, my point is here, I think the way that Genshin Impact deals with religion is really interesting, particularly because it deals primarily, I will say primarily, but one of the main inspirations for its overall overarching story is Gnosticism. Gnosticism is a group of religions that basically they believe in a creator god, but they also believe that this creator god is like a flawed god, right? That the material world is a prison essentially, for like all us people, and the only way we can escape this prison of the material world is by achieving enlightenment and transcending, right? This is the general line of thought, but again, Gnosticism is a group of religions. It's not just one thing, and it's not secular. But I think it's a really fascinating concept for a game that wants to delve into like story and religion and this kind of concept, because the idea of a like all-powerful benevolent god is such a pervasive part of religious study. I mean, religious history, I guess. I don't know. And in the sense that Christianity is a really pervasive subject in a lot of global theology. And granted, I want to like preface again, I don't know that much about religion and theology. Again, like most of my knowledge is from what I've seen online in regards to this game. So like everything I say should be taken with a grain of salt, right? But regardless, it's interesting to me, I guess, that they're gonna have a game about gods and then emphasize that the gods that we see are like fundamentally flawed beings, right? That there is, we're trapped in a prison, right? The concept, the premise of Genshin Impact is that you land in a world and you can't escape because you need to find your sibling in order to leave the world, but you can't leave the world. Why? Because the world is a prison and they have a god that's keeping us all inside. And I think, anyway, it's a really fresh take on religion. I think religion is really ripe, fertile soil for storytelling. Water break. Anyway, that's my first little I guess like little ramble, right? Second thing I want to talk about briefly is some like the themes I really want to talk about Genshin today, and this is what we're going to try to revolve today's story around, right? We're going to try to revolve today's presentation around these three themes that are going to be hopefully easy to understand and easy to digest, right? I don't really want to be talking like at you guys necessarily, but I think this is really important to discuss because even with an all-encompassing narrative, even with something that's very like broad, and like encompasses a lot of different ideas, there's a couple of that are like really pervasive throughout the story. The first one is the journey, right? I think there's a lot of narratives like this. I can't name them off the top of my head. I know Lord of the Rings, I think, is one. Lord of the Rings basically focuses more on like how the journey is the more important part of the is more important than the destination, right? It's the travels that you experience and the experiences that you experience that kind of shape who you become, right? I guess Freeman also talks about this, how like the destination isn't necessarily as important, even though it is important. It's more about everything in between that helps shape your experiences and helps guide you to, you know, like become a more empathetic person, right? Would you choose the main character? Is it Lumine right there? I chose Lumine. I think she's really pretty, and I think I would like to kiss her. Yeah, that's all. um, but I think this is something that's really important. In general, I think, to be fair, I guess all narratives are more focused on the journey rather than the destination, right? You never really watch a show. You never really read a book. You never really like consume a movie. Never play a game just to see the ending, right? You don't start a game and then like speedrun the rest and then you hit the ending, right? I mean, if you're speedrunning, then yeah, but most people would actually play the game and experience the in-betweens and the ups and downs on that journey rather than just read the last page, right? It's the equivalent of opening a book, reading the first page and the synopsis maybe, and then skipping to the last chapter and then reading the last chapter. I think that's kind of silly, right? Because it's all about what happens in the middle. And I think Genshin Impact deals with this in a way that's more explicit than I think a lot of other narratives do. This is also something that's like I think a little bit misunderstood within the fandom, right? Because we're posited to be in the beginning that the narrative of the story is that we're supposed to chase after our twin, right? Like, oh, you're separated from your twin, you gotta find them now, right? And then when we do find them, a lot of people get we'll say like upset because we didn't like directly take on their offer, or we didn't directly say to like continue our travels, right? Is because the journey of Genshin Impact is the journey of traveling the world, right? Okay, I think I said that right. This is also something that's like emphasized in the latest Archon quest. I don't know if you guys have done it. If you haven't done, that's okay. But basically, the main antagonist of Genshin Impact, as of right now, like the main antagonist in front of us right now, essentially offered the protagonist a choice. Well, the protagonist being you, right? Uh, offered us a choice whether like of like infinite power we could find our sibling immediately. We could leave with the power that they're going to, I mean, they offered to grant us, right? But we deny it because, again, the point is, like, the friends we meet along the way, right? Like, it's kind of cheesy to say it, but like, that's really how a lot of things are. There's not much of it. There's no point in trying speedrunning. I think for most games, there's not really a point in speedrunning, to be fair. That's just me. I like my time. Speedrunning takes a lot of time, even though it's called speedrunning. I don't. It's kind of ironic, right? Anyway, so that's the first theme, the journey. The second theme, I think, for Genshin Impact is family, right? This is also a very common theme within stories. I think within family, there's a lot of right narrative ground, right? Families are not very neat and orderly and like beautiful at a time. And we saw this in Silksong when we played Silksong, but we also see this in Genshin Impact, right? How a lot of the families that we see within the story are like really messed up, right? Just to name drop a few, like the twins, supposedly they're inseparable from birth, but then one of them leaves and like they can't be reunited because like they're doing this like, you know, they're doing this like this like I don't know, time shenanigans tango, I guess. All right, and that's also saying that this is a messed up relationship, but it's pretty messed up that they won't communicate about it. And I'm not saying that as a criticism, I'm saying that as a fact, right? Oh, like it's just family issues. That is true, right? Even like another like relatively tame example within Genshin Impact is Alice and Klee, right? The tiny little Spark Knight Klee of Genshin Impact. Her mother, Alice, supposedly says she loves her very much, and Klee also says that Alice loves her very much, and yet she's pretty much an absent parent all the time, right? She's never seen with her daughter, and she's only known to like give her gifts from afar, which is kind of, how do I say? I don't feel like that's wise, right? Albeit maybe it's better considering both Alice and Klee are very destructive beings. Who knows, right? But on top of that, there's other things like, we'll say like the creation of like a clone to fulfill all your life dreams, right? The way that Fossilores and Farina are. Spoilers for Fontaine, I guess. If you haven't played Fontaine, essentially what happens is the Archon of Hydro splits herself into her divinity and her human form, I guess, we'll say her humanity, right? And essentially leaves her humanity to sit and wait and pretend to be an Archon so that the divinity could perpetually like you know, could try to fool the heavenly principles. Anyway, without any communication, that's ridiculous. Genshin Impact contest sounds like the start of a PowerPoint presentation. This one is a PowerPoint presentation because I made it in like 5 minutes. But I wanted something on the background while I yapped through the intro. So ha 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 ha, my bad. I thought this was gonna be PowerPoint. It's kind of a PowerPoint. It's not really a PowerPoint because I was really I was very very lazy about it. I made this in 5 minutes. So you guys get to look at the title. The title screen of this PowerPoint. But yeah, no, I think like messed up family dynamics are really cool in narratives, right? But more than messed up family dynamics, because like I think when families tend to be messed up is especially when they're like blood related, right? When you have a blood related family, we could like, if I don't know if you guys remember Silk Song, it hasn't been that long, but if you guys remember Silk Song, we have the aspect of like the grandparents exerting so much control over the entire kingdom to the point of it's like being like really oppressive for all the citizens, right? Same thing in Genshin Impact. We have like the quote unquote heavenly father, or so they want to be called, I guess, a heavenly parent, I guess. Of like, I guess this fancy, I don't actually know, but trust me when I say this, there's a lot of like really messed up family stuff, and you can see this very explicitly within the characters that exist. And then you can also see this if you read more between the lines, right? But also, when family becomes like healthier, I guess, by nature, is when you have like found families, right? When you choose who you want for your family member. And you can see this a lot in like in a Nodcry, right? The story of Nodcry is Columbina finding her family, right? Finding where she belongs and finding her home, right? If you look at the story of like the Traveler, yeah, they were abandoned by their twin, but they found a new family in Paimon, right? And then you want to look at the story of like Scaramouche, right? Or the Balladeer or the Wanderer, whatever you want to call him. He gets abandoned by his family multiple times over until he finally finds a home in Sumeru with everyone else, right? I think it's really sweet. Grandmother Silk ain't no granny. She's kind of a granny. But anyway, yeah, it's just like the idea that like the family you're born with that isn't necessarily the home that you will find in the end for yourself, but also that like it's possible to reconcile with the home that you've been estranged from, right? Such as with Columbina. She was originally estranged from the Frostmourne Scions because she didn't really feel that she belonged there, but then she decided to come back because after finding like her own identity, she became able to like you know, feel the warmth, I guess, of their love nowadays. It's really nice. They call her moon goddess. I don't know what that means in lore. It just means that she's a moon goddess. Doesn't mean a whole lot more than that. I mean that's up to the reader's interpretation, I suppose. But anyway, it's just like things like that, right? I think the idea that a found family being more powerful than your born family, your birth family, a lot of the time is something that like I wish I want to see more in media, right? It's always a really good trope. It's very common, mind you, but I love seeing it every single time, right? Like hypothetically, you have an orphan child and you have an old person who adopts this orphan child, and I think it's a really like cute dynamic almost all the time, right? Yeah, just like how messed a family can be. I think it's tea, guys. It's tea. It's awesome. All right. The third thing we want to talk about a little bit is about like stories, fate, memory, names. Right? These all sound very different, but this one is about like in Genshin Impact. One thing that is like, I guess like a couple things that are recurring are the connections between stories, fate, memory, and names. Right? The name gives you identity, and then the name shackles you to a fate, right? This can be seen with like Child's Tartaglia Ajax. Because he was named after an ancient hero, his fate is now tied to that fate of that ancient hero, right? It's like, and then how do I say? This is more abstract, I suppose, right? Family's easy to understand, and the journey is easy to understand, but tying together the fate and like names, I think is a little bit more obtuse unless you have more experience with it, right? But I guess the only thing we can say about this is how Scaramouche, Wanderer, he never really found his true name until he found his identity, right? And it kind of plays into how identity and family play a part, right? The kind of idea that your family is the one that gives you the name, but whether you decide to keep it or leave it behind is up to you, right? Like, yeah, Wanderer had his own name given to him by his family at the time, but upon being abandoned, upon being like, you know, like changing as a person, he cycled through a whole bunch of different names, right? Same thing with Columbina. There's a whole storyline about how she wants to find her name, and how she doesn't feel like she has a home until she's given her name in the end of the Archon quest for Nodcry, right? I think it's really interesting, and like the fact that names are connected to your fate is something that I think should be explored more. That said, I don't really know how much more I can say about that because it's kind of difficult, right? But like, names are stories, right? The name that's given to you by your family is the story of your life, and I think that's a really interesting way to put it. And I think that's a really important theme. It's awesome. My stupid about thinking of Scaramouche from the Samurai Jack, not Scaramouche from what's it called? That one Queen song, Bohemian Rhapsody. But anyway, I think that's really cool. Man, that's so good. Sorry, the way I put it there, that your name is a story given to you by your family that ties you to your fate. That's cool. That's cool. I'm gonna use that in the future. Anyway, so now that we're done with that, we've run through the basic outline about how everything ties together, and like the general broad themes that we're gonna discuss today. Let's get into a little bit more of the presentation that I wanted to talk about. This isn't necessarily that related to what I talked about. I guess it is a little bit, but maybe it's not. I'm not really sure. I didn't really think about it that hard. This is more just something I wanted to discuss, I suppose. But next up on this page, I have two videos for you. It's the Nodcry live performance, and I think is really awesome. And we're gonna watch it together. We're gonna become a rec streamer. Yeah. So every year, Genshin Impact does one of these to introduce their new region. It's a little loud. And so this one is the introduction for Nodcry, right, for Genshin Impact. The realm of the moon, essentially, right? And one thing that they've noticed lately, especially over the recent years, is how these like themes kind of foreshadow the main plot and the main story for the region, right? For example, you can hear like the really strong Celtic influences in the music, which like informs you a bit about the cultural background for Nodcry, right? The kind of solo voice at the start sounds like it's like, you know, a lone girl's journey at the start of the world, right? But now we have the humans, I guess, continuing the story, right? Aurora, who sings the solo for this, represents Bina in the sense that she's the main character, right? The fact that all the instruments are reflecting her melody is like indicative of how her influence has shaped the nation. Right? Even if she wasn't necessarily there to begin with. Anyway, I think the melody is so pretty. I love this so much. This is it's so good. It's so good. It's so peak. And I think like Cause here there's a counter melody in the vocal section. I wonder if that would like represent how the culture shifted, right? From just being about the Scions who are descended from the ancient civilization that worshipped the moon to like, you know, modern day. And now we have like this like, I don't know, kind of like a glorious almost build to the climax. I don't know, it's like it really gives you like the vibe of like ascension, right? I don't know. Anyway, I think that's a banger. I think that's peak actually. It's not full screening again, whatever. But yeah, so that's the main theme of Not Crying. I think just from this song alone, you can kind of like envision almost how the three big themes are kind of betrayed, right? You have like the theme of the journey, right? The song itself is a journey that like reflects the actual journey that we go through in the story of Not Cry, right? The sense of like family comes from, I guess, like how like the background vocalist. I don't want to call them that because it's not really this. The choir, and the choir starts to like create and echo their own motif while also like pairing with the main melody, right? And then just like I don't know, the whole thing is so good. I think it's so tea and so choice. I think it's really well done. Um, and the song is really good too, right? Like I think one thing that I mean, one thing. One of the many things Genshin Impact does really well is like their narrative storytelling through their music. I don't know, something to that effect. Does that make sense? Am I making sense? And I don't know. I the way that they paint the environment and express like the story, it's so tasty. It's so delicious. Is a singer in Lord of the Rings? 'Cause I heard the voice in Lord of the Rings. I don't know. Her name is Aurora. I think she's a Norwegian singer. She has a couple cool songs. I'm not really a fan of her. Like her work isn't really my taste, right? But maybe it'll be to your taste. I think she's really good. I think she really fits this. Her dress was awesome, and she was killing it. I'm not gonna lie. But like, yeah, I don't know. You can really feel like this overwhelming sense of like ascension, I guess, right? I don't really know what better word there is to use, but it feels like she's risen beyond her shackles, right? From being beyond like, you know, the worldly land that she was part of, and now she's become, you know, whole almost, right? Maybe that's a little too much, but I mean, this is a spoiler stream anyway, so like inherently they're only spoilers, right? But like that's kind of the vibe I would want to like come out of that with you for you guys, you know? Um Not Cry main performance live theme. I think it's really good. I was listening to it genuinely on repeat when it came out. I think it's one of the best things I'd ever Is that kind of exaggerated? I don't know. I don't think so. But I listen to a lot of music in my life. It's one of my favorites. So, um yeah. Just for funsies, we're also gonna listen to the combat theme. Not because I think it's gonna be relevant, right? The Not Cry like the regional main theme, I think, is what tells the story of the region, right? The combat theme is just a combat theme, but even within the combat themes, you'll hear a lot of really unique stuff, I suppose, right? I think in particular for Not Cry, their combat music is very Also, this violinist is kind of insane. I know, it's so fun. It's so fun. But I think one thing you'll notice is within the combat themes of Nod Cry, you'll hear a lot of the themes that you heard of the main theme, right? Themes, we'll call them leitmotifs the way they're supposed to be, right? Well, there's a lot of shared leitmotifs in Nod Cry to like emblemize the presence of like Columbina, right? Of their goddess, right? Even where she's not necessarily there, you'll hear themes of like other important factions, right? Like that signify other major players, right? Such as the Scions that we talked about earlier, right? I'll be honest though, I haven't analyzed this track nearly as much as I have with the non-crime main theme. So I can't really tell you what this track is supposed to represent. Aside from just being a really hype, you know, combat track. And just a regular one too, not even a boss theme. Like, whatever, dude. Okay. I guess, looking at the lyrics now, I guess you guys can't really see it because it's at the bottom of the screen. And El's dressing. There's definitely a big theme about like elvatry in this storyline. But I think looking at it now, this looks like it's the battle anthem almost of the Lightkeepers who are trying to fight off the dark, right? You know, to light the Aeon Dark. That's the title of the song. I didn't catch the usual leitmotifs too much in Alan's music. I'm trying to think about that. Sorry, that is so good for me. Oh, so good. Banger. Anyway, that's all I want to. I showed this one mostly for like the funsies. There you go. I showed this one mostly for funsies because I felt like I don't know. I think it's really good. But actually, going back to Natlan real quick. I think you're right. They did a lot of experimentation with Natlan, and one thing I was personally disappointed by, is that we have this really impactful theme for like Natlan's like main theme. They have the ode to resurrection, but that's not really present in the characters. Like the characters that you think the ode to resurrection would be really important for, right? Like I was okay. How do I say? I think Natlan had good ideas. I just think they fumbled the execution a little bit, right? I was really how do I say? I was really disappointed when a lot of them had like pop songs. Is that kind of bad to say? I was kind of disappointed when a lot of them had like pop songs instead of having like more like patriotic themes almost. Is that weird? I guess it's like I don't remember a lot of Natlan's main sounds and motifs in the character moments for Natlan, and I think that really weakened it for me, right? In Non-Cry, you can hear the sound of the Frostmoon Sands. You hear Columbina's melody everywhere, right? Even when places you don't really expect, like all of a sudden you're gonna be like walking in this like really beautiful like landscape, and then suddenly you're gonna hear like a few notes that kind of point you towards like how this character's influence has just barely like touched this aspect of the world in a way that you didn't expect, right? Is the game version of Russia? I don't think it's Russia specifically. I think it's meant to be more like West Europe in general. West? No, East Europe, sorry. I think it's like Northern and Eastern Europe. correct me if I'm wrong. I genuinely don't know. I don't know my European geography. You know, whatever. But like there is like Russian influence, right? The same way that Northern Eastern Europe has Russian influence because historically that area of the world was heavily like they had a lot of cultural exchange, right? Similarly, Nodkrai is like technically an autonomous region, part of Chesnaya, which is based in Russia, but mm, like they're not the same, right? Especially because sorry, let's get back on track just a little bit. I'm doing a little bit of I'm doing a bit of analysis on the side, but and that's not what we're talking about. We're talking today about journey, family, and like names, memory, fate, etc., etc. I can't say etc., etc. Names, fate, journey, and family. All right. As feeling dance and undeniable proof. I think that's just like I think the dance is done only by the Fatui, they are a Russian military force. So I think I think saying that is a little bit. You should consider context. I guess is what I'm saying, right? Because it's done by the Fatui, who are Russian. I think that makes a lot of sense, but it's not really done by the natives of Nodkrai. All right. Anyway, I want to say that the other region that does this sort of like storytelling with the environment, right? I guess environmental storytelling is Fontaine. Fontaine did this really well. And to be fair, like Natlan does this to a degree, especially in the overworld. But I want to talk about Fontaine a little bit in the sense that a lot of Fontaine's tracks, how do I say? I guess like Fontaine's musical identity, it has a few different parts, right? It has like the main theme of Fontaine, and it also has like the theme of the Narcissus Cruise, right? To give like a brief summary of the Narcissus Cruise, there's an ancient organization, we'll say like 500 years ago, that created such technological advancements and like heresy, I guess. And so they were extremely controversial, I guess, within a certain group of people. Some of the people grew up to be like essentially forgotten by history despite their academic achievement, and some of the people grew up to be extremely academically prolific, but extremely lonely as a result, right? And this theme of the Narcissus Cruise is present everywhere in Fontaine, whether it be like the main regions, like the main region OST, or even the combat music, right? Like pretty much everywhere you go, you'll hear like a ghost of this past and how that influences the modern day, right? Um, One thing I wrote down here is that like the game, how do I say? The game and its story in every region, it deals primarily in three time periods. It deals with the oldest time period, so the arrival of the primordial one, we'll say, right? It deals with the time period of 500 years ago when the cataclysm, and it deals with present day, right? If you guys aren't aware about the context behind this, let me explain a little bit. The primordial one, how do I say this quickly? I didn't actually prepare a segment for this, so that's kind of awkward to explain. But let's say, to begin with, Tevat and Genshin Impact, the world of Genshin Impact was ruled by dragons. Until the primordial one came and colonized them, enslaved them, killed them, defeated them, and repopulated the earth with humans. All right. The repopulation of humans also came with a bunch of side effects, such as the Archon War, which you guys might have heard about, where the Archons basically, duked it out until they found one guy who is going to be responsible for leading the entire nation. All right. So Archon War, the aftermath of those are all a result of the primordial one and their arrival, right? Anything that deals with dragons probably happened with the time of the primordial one. The cataclysm 500 years ago is what happened when the ancient civilization of, it's not really ancient if it's 500 years ago, I guess, but when the civilization of Khaenri'ah, I guess, used forbidden knowledge and like rebelled against the heavenly principles, also known as the primordial one. And during that rebellion, it was so earth shattering that it affected every single nation in a really really major way, to the point that even 500 years later, the world still bears the scars of that incident, right? And there's also like a really strong how do I say, like de-skilling, I guess, of the entire nation, of the entire world, essentially. Right, every single nation in the world suffered like severe technological decline after that event. And this is the narrative of present day, which is the journey of the traveler traveling through the world and solving the nation's respective problems sometimes. Sometimes just like meeting people and hanging out, etc., etc. Friends Revolution, yeah. So you'll notice that these are very similar to things that like you might see in history, such as the arrival of Primordial One, where they enslave the dragons, kill the dragons, etc., etc. It's very similar to like colonialist history that like the Europeans have created, right? Um, the Cataclysm is, I don't know, like the way that socialism was beat down as like a political philosophy. Um, it's economic actually, but yeah, the way that socialism was kind of like beat down by the U.S. Primarily across all these years, because like the U.S. didn't really like socialism, right? And present day is about the journey, right? It's our journey, right? Um, I'll sorry, trying to figure out what to do right now. Let's go to the next one. Let's play the Natlan Live Symphony Orchestra, because I also really like this one. This one's really good as well. I voiced my complaints about Natlan, but that said, I really like the atmosphere that we were given to begin with here. And this kind of thing was done really well. And I do really like that the Ode of Resurrection, is in a lot of the holy areas, the sacred areas of Natlan. And it's really nice. They were really ambitious with their musical direction for this region, but we're here to discuss some broader strokes, right? And I do like that this is a theme that unifies the tribes of Natlan. Although I don't know if this is facts. I would like to hear more of the individual like flavors of the regions within this. Something like that. I don't know. It'd be really hard to do though, so I can understand why they didn't. But it really is like a very nationalistic anthem, and it's really well done for that. This is also another theme for Natlan that I really enjoyed. You hear this in a lot of like the ritual, I guess, that the people have to when people undergo through a ritual, they hear this theme. I think it's really well done. You go so hard at the music in every region, absolutely. I think one of my favorite things is that how do I say? I feel like the composers take a lot of time to understand the flavor of the region before writing for it. And it feels really authentic for that reason, right? Like, granted, there's a lot of issues when it comes to Genshin's colorism and racism and, like, blending of cultures that aren't meant to be blended, right? And there's, like, very valid criticism there. But I also think there's really stellar moments of representation. Region such distinct music, absolutely. It's so tea. Want to look on that forever. I think it's a little bit of how do I say? I feel like that might be a little bit of a racist stereotype. But you know, the progression and then the development of this music for me, it's so, it makes you feel patrioticism for a fictional land. I don't know how to describe it, right? And that's one thing I think that Natlan does really well, to make you feel like this is a nation of unity, right? Of unity despite war, a nation of like, interpersonal, like, I don't know, just like the way that humans interact and find joy and peace even in a time of great calamity, right? How community creates like really unshakable, how do I say, community and belief creates will to counter like the enemy, we'll say, right? It's valid about saying how you know the devs want their cast to be diverse, be the concept art for the characters, like the higher ups are forcing them to watch. Oh yeah, absolutely, and I don't think that's good, right? I've seen some of the concept arts, and they look really, really nice. And so like we shouldn't like I think it's important to address this criticism because it's a really integral part to people's identity, right? And by erasing that, it kind of denies people the representation. And representation is really important for people to like appreciate their own identity, right? Sorry, this progression of the main theme, how it just grows until this like really climactic moment. And the harmony here, it's so broad. Sorry, I lock in every time for that. Sorry, my bad. That's so good. I love it. It's the way that it progresses in that song. It's so good. Anyway, you know, actual devs put their heart and soul into this game. Absolutely, for sure. Like you can see it in every corner of the game, whether it's the music, whether it's the the visual art direction. Like the character designs, I guess, is the primary point where they fall flat. But like even the NPCs, when they talk about their own. Okay, granted, I don't belong to most of these minority groups, so I can't really say how accurate they are. But I really like the way that NPCs talk about their own culture, right? Often it's like a one or two liner. Where they have like, you know, they just mention something offhandedly. And a lot of people I see online talk about that sort of thing, and they talk about how like relatable it is for them, right? Because it represents, it's representative of them, right? Battle theme is such a bop. I really like it. I think it's so good. I don't know if you guys know this as well. Sorry, this is kind of a tangent, right? This is not what I'm talking about primarily for this stream, and I gotta like lock in and focus on the main message I'm trying to convey, but. I don't know if you guys know, but the main combat themes, almost every single one of them, they follow the same musical pattern, right? Usually it's the melody and the rhythm, but sometimes it's just the rhythm of the general Genshin Impact combat motif, right? There's a recurring combat motif that is present throughout the entire game, and I think it's a really clever way to make all your combat music uniquely yours, right? It's a way that's really, I haven't seen it done before, you know? Usually you rely on the style of the composer to carry the cohesiveness of a musical narrative, but a person's style is often based on the kind of music that they create, the genre. But when you're encompassing so many genres, you have to use more clever ways, such as using, you know, rhythmic like callbacks to the main theme. I don't think they incorporated the combat lead motif in Mountain's battle theme. Yeah, it's just smaller. Yeah, I think lately the motif is more, how do you say? It's more subtle. But I do really like it. I think it's really cleverly done. I think it's really cool. You know? Just like the way that, and also, what I say? I could talk about this game like literally for ages, sorry. I can't keep getting too distracted, but I want to say also that the combat music for Natlan in particular for me is very much like whimsical almost in a way, right? It's heavy and it's like dramatic, but it's also, it carries a spirit of like competition and like the spirit of like, this is something we do because, you know, it's something we like to do rather than being a life or death situation, right? They fight because it's part of their identity and it's something that brings them joy rather than be something that they need to do. You just like the brawl in that one? I think it's kind of cute. And I also really like the usage of vocals in that land. Funny way to make the enemies act. A little bit, yeah. Like, I think the usage of vocals in Natlan's combat tracks is really, like, it really represents the humanity of it, right? Like, especially because Natlan's music is very choral compared to, like, Not Cry, where there's a lot of solo work. I think it's so good. I think it's so good. I think it's so tea. I'm so sad. I'm so sad that Moika doesn't have a really cool anthem like this. Feels bad to beat up the Saurians, especially the babies. I think the Saurian combat is a little bit questionable, considering that you get their teeth. And that kind of feels just like that kind of feels like, what's the word? I was gonna use the word trophy hunting. I don't feel like it's right. I feel it's something else. Poaching? Killing Saurians in Genshin Impact kind of feels like poaching in real life, and that's one thing I feel like is really strange, considering the rest of the narrative is generally kind of good. Heavy usage of vocals here and Not Cry are nice. Yeah, and I think, I don't know, the way, my point is, I think the way that Genshin Impact and the music portrays the narrative, it's I don't know, it tells you a lot about the story, the way that they write their music, right? And I think that's something that's not so explicit in a lot of games, right? A lot of time music is there for the vibes, and not to say that Genshin doesn't do this, but especially for like main themes like this, it really, the songwriters really weave the narrative into the composition, right? But defending that is gonna be something to start killing them. Honestly, it's kind of devastating, right? You look at every single tiny little Tepetlosaur, and you're just like, man, that could have been my little guy. That could have been my little buddy, you know? It's genuinely, it's makes me sad. That's all I'll say. That makes me sad. um, anyway, I just want to say, like, yeah, no, I think that the music is something I always wanted to shout out, right? Every single time I talk about this game, I want to talk about the music a lot. I have a whole playlist dedicated to Genshin Impact music. It's like 8 hours, 9 hours, I think now, of my favorite tracks in this game. I listen to it every single time I go out on like a trip or something. It's it's kind of a mental illness actually, but it also makes me feel bad about the killers in Fontaine, and now they're one-upping it. Honestly, at least we're not killing the main. No, never mind. I was gonna say, at least we didn't really kill like the main companion creature, right? Like how there's Arnara and Sumeru, and then there's like the Melazines and Fontaine. But no, the Saurians are our companion creature in this. So actually, we are killing them, and that is kind of messed up. The music on HCI will make my wife cry the first time I heard. It's so good. I want to talk about the music on HCI a lot right now, but I don't know if I can right now because I have a lot to go through. There is so much content. I didn't prepare all that much in my thing because it's more just like a general guideline for what to talk about. Like I made some notes for like general guidelines, things I could talk about for this because I figured I'd get kind of off track. But this game for me is like it's so special, right? I think big games, a lot of the time they can lose their vision. They can lose the vision of what they want to be, right? Or like maybe even sometimes it's just like, you know, it's a start to end, it's a singular narrative, which is also fine, right? But I think Genshin is really ambitious in trying to tackle all these different philosophical ideas, while also serving the music, serving the visuals, while also giving us compelling characters who serve different philosophies, right? I think that's kind of crazy, right? 'Cause like it's really hard to manage a big cast of characters, and they're somehow managing so far. Like there are valid criticisms about the way that they're doing all that, but like considering the scale of it all, I think it's pretty good so far. All right, Genshin musical. I think a musical would kind of defeat the point, to be honest. I think Genshin is best served as an orchestral experience, right? Orchestral choral, whatever you want to call it. Um, I think there's something really special about this kind of like real instrumental, right? Um, I say real instrumental, but it's not all real instrumental. And there's something I want to there's something to be discussed on that aspect too. But anyway, back to our main themes. Let me see what else I wrote real quick. I wanted also to talk a little bit briefly about I guess the way that Genshin Impact deals with the story, because like, okay, so I talked a bit about how like the music parallels the storyline of the region, right? One thing I didn't really say so much is how it it's not only a journey through time present day, it's also a journey through historical time, I guess. Does that make sense? Right? I mentioned earlier how all the regions um deal in three timelines. So maybe I'll play something else real quick. And maybe this will give me a maybe this will give like a nice maybe this will give a nice I'll play the fun taming theme. When you let her pose the free runner. That's funny. Um there you go. So one thing I think is really important to talk about is how the narratives of the music, the physical narratives, um, it's how like we're slowly brought into how three like three time periods influence each other, I guess, and how the events of those three time periods influence each other, right? In Not Cry, it's about how like the three moons, I guess, influenced the creation of Columbina, and how like and that very directly ties into like the creation of like the three moons and their imprisonment very directly ties into modern day, right? And how it influences the modern plotline. But on top of that, we have the story from 500 years ago when Columbina was born, when the cataclysm happened, you know, so that era come to bite us in the back now, right? And like it really is setting itself up to be a narrative that like an overarching narrative that talks about how important it is that the two timelines of the twins, you know, like the 500 years ago and the modern day, are coming together to deal with, or I don't know, influence something about the past, something like that. I'm not really sure because I can't really predict the future, but I think it's really fascinating, right? If we talk about Mondstadt, for example, all right, like the influences of past Mondstadt, how the Archon War created like Decorabian and the old civilization of Mondstadt, and how that influences the current ideal of freedom, right? It's only because of the former enslavement and imprisonment of the Mondstadtian people that like modern day Mondstadt gets to be so free, right? But on top of that, then like even among the primary narrative, we have like the 500 years ago events of the cataclysm where Dvalin gets poisoned by the abyss, right? And that comes to bite us in the back now. And so it's like the themes of like the present, the past, and the future all coming together to resolve the incident and make things more happy, more blissful, right? And create a more optimal and idealized timeline, right? If you guys watched Varka's trailer yesterday, you might have not I guess it's not trailer, it's his animation. His animation yesterday. It talks about what would happen if the traveler hadn't arrived, right? The story of the outlander who caught the wind. The next update is called He Who Caught the Wind, right? He could have been the hero to save Mondstadt back then, but instead he decided to, because he had the decision, he could see the future. He decided to go Not Cry, and he left the fate of Mondstadt into our hands, right? I think there's something really poetic about that. I think that's really pretty, and I really like it. The way that you can see the way that the world's influenced because of our meddling, right? Because we're not a variable that fate has set in stone for us, right? I guess like similarly in that vein, I guess not really similar to that vein. I just want to talk about Orca's thing. I think it's really cool. I really liked it. But like every region has the thing about the three time frames, the time periods interconnecting. And like if we're talking about Liyue, right? You have the history of Liyue and like Zhongli being as old as hell as he is, right? How that civilization that he nurtured grew up into the prospering modern day Liyue, right? And then how heck dude, I didn't prepare something for this, so I don't remember what happened 500 years ago. 500 years ago was the cataclysm, which allowed people to move to the harbor as it is right now, right? And the modern day of like, you know, his killing himself so that the people could learn a new kind of prosperity, right? I don't know, like the kind of like philosophical arguments of like what is freedom of you demand if demanded by a god, right? What is like prosperity if it's, you know, created by a god's contracts, right? Like, and then like one thing I think is really compelling. Hold on. Let's up to Genshin Impact real quick, so I can give you guys something to look at, so I can like run around, I guess, in the open world. And I guess I can turn on the audio too. There you go. There you go. I need to remember to breathe. Sometimes when I talk too much and too fast, I end up fumbling. Anyway. But yeah, like the thing for me is like Inazuma in particular is really striking. Hold on, I'm gonna sneeze. Playing. Genshin Impact content and bring it back where we shall give you guys. I mean, this is still Genshin Impact content. How do you know this isn't part of the slideshow, right? Cute. Anyway, other thing. I think the first time I was like really interested in the philosophy of Genshin Impact was when Inazuma came around, right? What is eternity? What is eternity if demanded of you by a god? Eternity? Sorry, I'm getting the wrong words. What is eternity, right? If you represent lightning, right? Lightning is one of the most transient things in this world, and so like, how do you achieve eternity with that kind of, like, you know, with that kind of power, right? And the way that it affects the world and the way that it affects the people, I thought it was really cool. Anyway, that's the point. There's a lot of really cool things. I didn't really write much beyond that. I just wanted to talk about like the intersection of the themes, I guess, of time, right? How, you know, the nation of Inazuma came about because the Raiden twins were born in the days of the Archon, like before the Archon War, presumably, right? And they were split up, separated during the Archon War. The Raiden Shogun took the place of her twin after the Cataclysm in Kyanria, right? I don't know, just like, and then modern day, how people are overcoming like her grief, essentially, right? And how her trauma like shaped the world, but also how the people are shaping her beliefs, right? And reshaping her beliefs. I think there's something really, really tasty about that, right? Same thing with Sumeru, like the God King Commission, we'll say. I don't know, the triumvirate of the God Kings. How their world was turned upside down during the Cataclysm, right? It's really cool. When lore's so deep you don't understand anything. Sorry, I'm trying to keep things like surface level as I can. But I don't know if it's working, right? I'm talking about things that are, in my understanding, like generally kind of well known among the people, I guess. But I think that's all kind of obtuse, right? I think one thing that's really important to talk about regarding the three timelines, time periods. I think time periods. We'll call them time periods. Timelines is not right. Is how like the iconography and the music reflects that, I guess, right? I feel like it's a big theme, and I never really considered it before today, so I don't know how much more I can discuss about it because I haven't thought about it too much. Most like the stuff ever is writing lore books in a gacha game. Oh, absolutely. I think sometimes there's like some really silly content in there, right? I say silly, but it's like, is it silly if it's really messed up, right? Like I was reading the artifact set for Sumeru the other day, and essentially what happens, like we have the three god kings of Sumeru at the time. We have Rukkhadevata, we have King Deshret, and we have Nabu Malikata, right? King Deshret was really like hopelessly in love with Nabu. And she felt nothing for him essentially. Um, so when she told him about her plans to like, I don't know, to like defy the Heavenly Order, he agreed. He agreed immediately. He was down bad, and she was like, "Great, I'll give you the tools you need to overthrow the world order. So let me just, you know, she killed himself in front of him to change the trajectory of his life forever. So it's fascinating. I think the person writing Soulborn lore through item description alone is worse. I mean, that is also fair. I feel like that's, I think at least with books, you have a little bit of like silliness that you're afforded, right? Because you could write silly dialogue if you so chose. But people actually started reading those. Dude, have you heard of the Genshin Impact lore in the food? The Genshin Impact food lore? That's not the right button. The Genshin Impact food lore goes deep. Let me show you guys. Let me see if I can find one. Surely it's here, right? Oh, wait, no, it's a revival food here. Tevat charred egg. Bennett's specialty. For some reason, every single fried egg is a little burnt around the edges. That's out of the burnt crisp does lend a new flavor to the dish, right? That's cute. Nice. Awesome. And then you read Amber's. One side is obviously uncooked. The other side gives a subtle scent of something burnt. Close your eyes to have a big mouthful just to keep Amber happy if nothing else. I keep a copy of everything burnt. I do if I remember to. I tend to forget, but I try my best to keep like a version of everything. Right? Do you want to open a restaurant? No, these are just gonna rot in my inventory forever. It's no big deal. Yeah. I think that's some really I really like that Amber a favorite girl figure. True. But I do really like how much detail is added to the game through these little like minute little things, right? Like these little foods, right? You see how Farina's cake is different from the regular cake, right? It's the same cake. You can't tell though, right? But you can see how, like, you know, she who once performed on the greatest stages bore witness to the birth of sublime justice, right? I think it adds a lot of it adds a lot of depth in a way that you can't really have if you don't have these really like little small things, right? Same way that how they have like birthday art and birthday letters. I don't read all my birthday letters every single year, but I'm still kind of behind, as you guys can see, but I do my best to read them when I can, right? Look at all these that I've collected. This is my my what's the meme? This is my 24 karat golden Labubu. Yeah. That's that. Wait. We don't have anything before this? That's crazy. That's crazy. Like one of my favorite plot lines, I guess, that's only in the birthday messages is Al Haytham. I hate them. First of all, how he has the same stupid like caption every single time, right? But how after we first meet him, he talks about how there's no special day dedicated to book reading. Speaking of which, Paimon seems interested in reading. She may be able to find a new book suited to her interest in the House of Diana. Reading through them will set her apart from the many others, right? The year after that, some researchers stationed in our village visiting the House of Diana a few days ago mentioned a familiar name, etc., etc. I'm sure Paimon's no less capable than this guy, right? Advanced reading materials are attached to this letter, and he gives her more books, alright? Here, the next year, in 2025, he says, the vast domain of knowledge still holds countless areas that Paimon has yet to explore, but judging from her reading notes, she's already quite wealthy in comparison to many others. To celebrate her progress, I enrolled her in a course at the academia a few months ago, and I believe the notes has already reached her. The Paimon School are an amazing witness. I think it's so good, because even in the main plot line, you can see how the books that she's reading, like, in the non-Cry Archon quest, she's holding a really thick, like, book, right? An instruction manual. Whereas in the Samara Archon quest, she took a glance at Al Haytham's book and was like, that looks too hard. Right? So now she's like she's like successfully enrolled in the academia, and this year, you know, she's taking her exam. She's taking her exam. And I think this is like, honestly, there's something really special about seeing things like that, I think. Alright? Like, having these kinds of, like background plot lines. I'm so excited she's stuttering. It is really exciting for me. I think it's, like, it's a really, like, a quiet characterization, right? It's very subtle growth as a character. The game characters get something? Yes, they do. It's hard to imagine Tom actually being successful studying when the first thing she said was running out of brain juice. That's my daughter. Don't speak poorly on her. I really also like, sorry, I guess like in that vein, I really appreciate that the traveler dialogues with Paimon are like, you know, cute little interactions, and I read all of them. I read all of them. It's so good. But yeah, no, like, I don't know if she's talked about it recently, I guess. Because I can't remember. 100 things you never knew about Varka.
仔细想想，我们第一次听说法尔加的名字是在什么时候来着？印象中有一念福的信，嘟嘟通讯仪，哦，还有秦和米卡的信。我之前还在蒙德图书馆里看过一本书呢，叫做
This is so long. Wait, hold on. What the heck?
100个事实。哎，上面写的什么？难道记载着？
Well, especially on the sheer amount of books in the world, quest lore is insane. Absolutely, for sure.
我回忆一下啊，想起来了。
Anyway, so I won't read the whole thing. I was kind of curious because I've never seen that one before. Hey, Brian gets this guy Genshin book report. Understandable. I know nothing about Genshin rules. What even is Paimon? She's a little girl that falls around, but why are people calling her emergency food? There was a joke really early on in the game where they talked about her, like, you know, like Xiaoming was like, oh, like, who's this? And then you have the option to say, oh, that's my emergency food. I carry it around in case of emergencies, right? And it's a little bit of a recurring joke, but not so much recently. As for what she is, though, it's really hard to say. People have called her all sorts of different things, such as, like, you know, a flying lavender melon. They called her a fairy. They called her, like, a sprite, a pixie. They called her, like, I don't know, a specter, which is, like, a floating slime. Right? We don't really know what she is, but we know that she's my daughter. That's my cutest little daughter right there, and I love her very much, and I want her to be happy, and I want her to you know, I want her to grow up happy and strong, and I hope that she comes to usurp the world one day. Nothing would make me happier, actually. All right, hit Nandeo, exactly. I think. Like, I think there will be a really major plotline with her, and eventually 15k to 20k calories worth, possibly, yeah. But like, whatever she becomes and grows to. There's a road here that just goes directly through this lake. I see how it is. Sorry. Anyway, no matter what it is, though, I think like the way that the characterization, like, I guess, advances in a very, like, slow way is really nice, right? I don't know how to describe it. It's very subtle, right? And I really appreciate that. And that's why there's a lot of, like, theories. The theory space for Genshin Impact is very ripe and rich. Because there's so much to, like, discuss about it, right? One of my favorite characters, Child Tartaglia Ajax, right? This guy is ripe full of theories. And I guess to discuss that, we'd have to discuss a lot of other things. I guess, so one thing we could start with is, like, this symbol, right? Can you guys see that well? Actually, can you? Hold on. I guess you kind of can, right? I can't believe I pressed one thing and I ruined everything else. Oh, that's really annoying. This symbol on his alt here. I don't know if there's anywhere else on his design. But it's also the same, it's the same icon that's on Paimon's stomach here, right? And it's also the same icon as on the literal money that you have. Can I open that even? I don't think you can. Where do you get, can you look at Mora anywhere? That's not Mora. If you squinted really hard, that's Mora. Alright? If you squinted really hard, you'll see that there's the triquetra on the Mora as well, right? And then this kind of like, this like recurring symbolism, I think it's on her somewhere as well. I had to look for it, and I'm not really feeling that right now. But like that kind of like recurring symbolism, as well as like the backstory, how he's the only character who shares a name, who's named after somebody else, right? And how like the fates of people who have the same names are intertwined. It's like, I don't know how to describe it, right? It's very fascinating to me. It's very fascinating to me, right? The fact that you can draw all these conclusions from all these different time periods. I'm getting distracted because I'm just walking around. I haven't walked around here so long. It's like it's completely unwalked territory for me. It's like, I don't know. This to me is like Subway Surfers. It's like, wow, look at this place. I've never seen this before, right? It's really nostalgic. It's really nostalgic, yeah. Anyway. I also really do appreciate that the map is so big, right? I saw a tweet recently. I think they were trying to like drama farm or something. But like Genshin really is one of the only full open world games, gacha games out there, right? All the other ones that are like semi-open world are like, again, they're semi-open world, right? She walked in an enemy den. It's not a big deal, right? I haven't unlocked this full version yet because I've been wanting to like, you know, take my time. Also, I've been busy. GTA 6 map size. To be honest, Genshin Impact isn't even that big, like physically. Like, let's say we want to go for all the way from here. I'm pretty sure the entire map, like in world, is only a couple of kilometers wide. Like, unironically. I really wonder how Genshin would feel as a non-gacha open world RPG. I really hope that, like, if they end up, like, how do I say? Like, if the game ever comes offline, basically, right? If they no longer have the money to keep the servers operating or anything, I really hope that they release the whole game as, like, you know, a game, right? I would pay $60. I'd pay $100. I'd pay probably more than that to play this entire thing again, to be honest. All right. That's what I think. What's the circle icon mean? Depends on which one. Teleport and track. I don't want to teleport and track. I just want to see how far it is. Gacha games is that the storytelling shifts too dramatically from region to region to feel consistent. I see what you mean. Is that what you're saying? You would love Breath of the Wild? I don't think I would like Breath of the Wild though, actually. I think it's very different. There's a tweet someone made. It was like, on a surface level, Genshin looks like Breath of the Wild, but if you look more deeply, it actually has elements of every Zelda game. Is that what I think that's what they said? I don't know how true that is. I haven't played very many Zelda games in my lifetime. I don't remember any of them. But I think it's interesting. Where the hell is this boss I'm looking for? What the heck? It cannot be that hard. Go. I guess I can't really track it because I don't have a quest in that region. Maybe if I navigate to this one, and then what I do is I teleport all the way to Inazuma, and then we'll see how big the map is from there. I think this is the farthest I can go. Let's see how big it is. But yeah, no, I think the thing with Breath of the Wild is that that's 18 kilometers. So far, the entire map of Teyvat is 18 kilometers wide. Fascinating. That's news. My favorite part of Breath of the Wild was walking around taking the scenery, getting sniped by a guardian in the open field. That's the thing. I don't really feel like that's the primary gameplay for Genshin Impact. It's part of it, and I really appreciate that it is, right? And I like the open world aspect of it. But the thing I prefer most about the Genshin is the narrative, right? Going back to how the narrative quality seems inconsistent with throughout the regions, I think that's fair, right? I think in a world where you're traveling through regions, you kind of have to make it a little bit episodic by nature, and that is something that you like evidently you can feel like poorly about. Hey Gustamins, good to see you. This map really looks like the Philippines. That's crazy. Sorry. Slight aside. Every couple of years, Genshin Impact players will pretend to leak a new map, and it's just a map of Indonesia. And then people believe it every single year, right? Someone literally just puts Indonesia onto like a Genshin looking style map, right? They change the colors to make it look more sparkly, whatever. Even keeping the names of the Indonesian like provinces, I don't know what you call them. And people believe it every year. It's awesome. But anyway, that's not the point. The point is here. I think the fact that like every single region has so much deep history, right? Like this island, this island in general that we're on right now. It follows the story of a tribe, like an indigenous tribe that was essentially wiped out by divine retribution. And how the shadows of their memory, I guess, continue to linger on, and they aren't able to pass into the afterlife, right? This wolf lord that we see here is a creation. It's the resting place, I guess, of a failed creation of a godlike deity, essentially, right? And even in these ruins around here, right? They're not here by random chance. Although I guess you could say like maybe the devs put this ruin here by chance or randomly. But like if you look at the detailing on it, right? This is very emblematic of the ancient civilization that spread across the world, right? The architecture is the same as the ruins that are in Mondstadt, the ruins that are in Sumeru, and that's how you know the breadth of the civilization that once existed, right? Different places will have different ruins, but these ruins are very particular and can be traced back to a specific time period. From lore-wise POV, I can't really compare the two since I know little Genshin, but Breath of the World is literally optional. When you start the game, you can rush the final boss, ignoring everything. That is something I did here, that you can kind of just like, you know, yeah, you just rush towards the final boss, right? And so for that reason, I think a lot of like, I don't want to like generalize, but I think a lot of Japanese games that I played are much more focused on the gameplay aspect, right? Which I don't think is bad. Having a focus on the gameplay and the quality and the ease of gameplay, I think is a really good thing. Because you're making a game, you're not making a story necessarily. But I prefer my games to be a storytelling medium. That's kind of how I feel. You know? Like this kind of environmental storytelling is really something else. Do you guys see that? You have the little ones being taught by the big one, and then they're surrounded by guardians all around. That's storytelling. I think it's good to see you again. I feel like I say that. I feel like when I greet people, I always say it with the exact same inflection every single time. I don't know. I think it's. I don't want to say it's a problem necessarily, but it's something I've noticed. Anyway. But like yeah, just looking around, you can see like the differences in the flora and the fauna. I remember looking at the concept art for this region, and then they distinctly mentioned that the horizontal like grain of the rock is something that is very Japanese, right? It's a common feature of a lot of Japanese islands that they have horizontal grain on their rock, and that's just not something you really think about most of the time. Bro's name, yeah. All right, and then like I don't know, I just like the vibe of it. And albeit this is like a really early region, so that you don't even have as much detail as you might in the newer regions. And I think that's kind of freaky that you know things get better as time progresses, and so as the the world gets more well thought out and built through, everything becomes more beautiful, right? One thing I really appreciate, I think this is kind of common in a lot of games to be fair. But I really like looking at the screenshots that the game gives you that you can collect of the different regions, right? Like early games, it's kind of like generic, right? This is kind of like generic fantasy kind of vibes. But then you progress onwards to like Sumeru, and then you have some really unique sights and sounds. That's really weird. Really unique sights and sounds is my point. All right. Like this is so cool. I love this a lot. The way that they integrate a lot of kind of like modern, I don't want to say modern, it's because not modern, but like regional architecture into the landscape and environment, and how like everything kind of has a purpose, and that's kind of how you're supposed to build designs. But like, you know, Breath of the Wild doesn't want you to rush the final boss. As a matter of fact, it pushes you. Well, if you do everything as intended, you can cause in the final fight. I won't say how because of spoilers. That's okay. I know what you mean though, right? Like the game wants you to go through the game, right? But I think, in my understanding, Breath of the Wild and its successor are more about like solving puzzles, about finishing the game, about experiencing the mechanics that you can, right? Holy typo, yeah, it's all good. Like I feel like from what I know about it, it wants you to like play the game, right? Do your exploration and like progress that way, right? Whereas I feel like for Genshin, it's a lot more of a narrative experience, right? Yeah, you're gonna explore, but then you're gonna see things that make you wonder why, right? Like you'll see this giant wall in the background, and you'll wonder why is that wall there, right? And you learn that it's to like keep out the desert, and it gives you a bit more context as to the world, right? I think there's a lot of people who criticize this game, and like to be fair, there's a lot of fair criticism. There's a lot of unfair criticism. I think it goes both ways. Play literally any other Zelda game, Breath of the Wild, to the Kingdom Hearts for the experience. Yeah, that's what I figured, and that's what I know it to be anyway. But yeah, I think it's a lot of fair criticism, right? But I think the criticism of like the story and the narrative and the things that aren't told explicitly through the main story aren't important. And I feel like it's a little bit of an unfair criticism because this kind of history and this kind of like world building are contexts for the state of the world right now, right? How do I say? Like, I feel like only by seeing these sites and understanding what they represent can you really get a full picture of why the current modern day happenings are the way that they are, right? Why are their factions fighting the way they are now, right? Why didn't they fight 10 years ago, 20 years ago? How come we're only solving the issue now? Sneeze. Okay. We're good. Right? It's just like I don't know. I think it's really cool the fact that the way that like the harmony between the music, the visuals, the characters, their history, right, etc., etc. I think it's really lovely. I think it's really lovely, and I really like that. This is my favorite thing. I love this so bad. Tesco, thank you, thank you. Like, I don't know. This game is really cool, right? This game is really cool. Even considering that it's like a 2020 Unity engine game, right? This could run on the PS4. Could you imagine that? The PS4? Wow. It no longer runs on the PS4, mind you. I think they like very recently phased it out. But that's kind of crazy. I don't. For the record, I want to say I have no clue, what the PS4 is like. Is it good? I don't know. Is it bad? I don't know. What kind of game is it gonna run? I don't know. Right? But like, just like the diversity of the sights and sounds, and like the fact that every single page you see has a story behind it. The PS5 is 6 years old. Wow. How old's the PS4 then? Right? I don't know. Just like for me, what looking through all this brings back a lot of memories. Right? For you guys, if you haven't played the game, it might just be like pretty sights. Like, oh, that's kind of cool, right? But like, I think the fact that there is context for why things are the way that they are, right? People used to clown on Genshin a lot for being very empty, right? Mondstadt is quite empty. And for not having a lot of that. I think the last 4 regions. PS4 is 13 years old. Jesus Christ. That came out in 2013? Jesus Christ. Wow. Only thing I don't like is when we're suffering through the Archon class and none of our friends or Archons come to help us. I think that's kind of fair, right? You'd want to see your old characters and friends again. But I don't think I think the ills of each nation are for the people of that nation to deal with. You know what I mean? Like, generally as people, we'd want to solve our own problems and maybe our friends can help. But you wouldn't really want just like some stranger, right? Some guy you knew from high school to come help you with your problems. That feels kind of like, you know, presumptuous. All right? I can understand wanting to see your friends again and wanting them to help, and especially because they're so powerful, right? But I feel like it's kind of unfair to have that expectation within the world, right? because everyone has like the aftermath of their own struggles to deal with, right? Anyway, I'm looking at all this and I'm just like, wow. There really is so much to think about. I guess I don't really know what this one is for. I haven't really heard or learned of the context behind this village. But I don't know, it's so cool, guys. I think this game is so cool. Like I would wanna That's my favorite area. Yeah, no, I think there's like so much depth in this game, right? Everything where you look, there is another perspective to the philosophy that the nation preaches, in a sense, I suppose, right? Although the philosophies of the modern day nations are also quite new, right? Like the philosophy of eternity of Inazuma is what, only 500 years old, right? Don't die on the Project Moon lore because you ain't coming out. I've heard good things about Project Moon. I just don't really know if it appeals to me because I haven't, like, genuinely, I have no clue, right? Because I've never experienced any of it, I don't know if it would appeal to me. But hypothetically, it is really interesting to me, I think. Right? As a concept, the fact that you're using all these narrative, like, you're using classical literature to basically tell a story of the protagonists, I suppose, right? That's really cool. That's really cool. What that means, I don't know. But yeah, no, I think like just like the other thing I really like about Genshin is just like the whimsicality, the mysticalness of it, right? It feels fantasy. Everywhere you go, it feels like this is a fantasy world, right? It looks like, the colors of like pastels, blues, pinks, purples are all very, they're fantastical, right? And yet it tells a story about like I don't know, like hatred, right? And overcoming that. And also about like unity and I don't know, there's a lot of cool themes. There's a lot of cool themes. Lovey looks great at swimming, right? She's such a fish. She's so fish-like. That's my wife right there. I like her a lot. But yeah, I think it just goes with there's so many things to talk about, right? And it's the fact that like a lot of these harsher themes are juxtaposed with this beautiful imagery that I think it really appeals to me. All right, I'm not sure if Project Moon could offer me that same experience. Not that I want the exact same experience, right? Obviously, different things, like different strokes for different folks. But yeah. I'm so like flavored by this tea. I don't know how to say it. Colombina is Colombia and stop converted to us within the country. Yeah, for sure. I think that's I will say one of my bigger criticisms of Genshin Impact as a story is that they kind of like gloss over some of the more gritty parts, the parts that are less sparkly and pretty, right? Such as the colonization narrative of like of Nodcry, right? Because that's very top of mind to me. The colonization narrative in Nodcry was very present in the first few chapters, and then suddenly it feels like it's not so much of a concern, right? And that's really problematic, I think. Do I study or work? I work. Well, I guess a little bit of A, a little bit of B. So I wish they had the audacity, I guess, to manage more of these, right? To like risk criticism of, or like to I don't know, to risk this kind of like dangerous kind of narrative style, right? They do it sometimes and more subtly, but I wish we had more of it, right? And also, I don't know, the way that Genshin deals with ruined civilizations is unmatched to me. We're in the game sea of fungals. Fungals? This is the, what's it called? The Sea of Bygone eras. Right? Like, I don't know. Genshin Impact's like, their ancient civilizations have never looked so beautiful. I don't know what to say, guys. I'm really obsessed. Can you tell? I really like this. And for me, like, because there's like visual language, I guess there is visual language. Of course, there's visual language, but because the visual language is so prevalent, right? Such as this like rainbow-colored water here, right? This like very shiny purple bluish water. You can see that, like, which things are interconnected almost. Is it a shark or a whale? That's a whale. I'm doing Chasm for the first time. Chasm for the first time was like a life-changing experience for me, to be honest. Scale is mind-blowing. Yeah. There's so much good stuff to see. I don't know. I wish I could talk about it all. But like, lean water. Yeah. So you can see how like the water. My goat. Sorry, we're gonna take a minute here because I love the song. I think this one's called Whisper of Domus Oreo. Domus Oreo. I do wish they went just as nice instead. I want to bunk the Saritsa. I think it's really good that they had Nod Cry though, to be fair. Sorry. I love this track so bad, dude. I can't explain it. After doing the quest here, music makes half the ambience in any game. That is true as well. They always say that sound design is more important than visual design. Because like if you watch a video and the audio is bad, you notice that instantly. Whereas if your video's in like, you know, 1280p, it's like that sucks, but it's not that bad. Right? I can't really dive too deep into politics due to them being subject to the whims of Chinese censorship. I don't really think that's the case though. And let me explain, right? If we're talking specifically about things like colonialism, in the context we talked about it before with Nod Cry and the colonization of the Fatui of Nod Cry, China hasn't really had a colonial history the way that like European countries have, right? And so it wouldn't make sense, even if they were subject to censorship, that they would censor something like that. Because, I mean, like, yeah, they have, like, okay, I don't want to say they don't really have a colonial history, because, like, they have a colonial history, but not in the way that we see it in the West, right? Tibet, Mongolia. I might be wrong about this, because I don't know my history very well, but if I remember correctly, it was like ancient China that, like, was invaded by Mongolia for a while, and then something about that where I don't know, something about them like you know, eventually the tides turned and then they got the territory back. That's what my understanding of it is, at least, right? As for Tibet, I can't really say because I'm genuinely not that familiar with that context, right? But the thing I do know for sure is that their colonization history is very different from the West, right? Whereas before 1000, maybe that's fair, right? But like, regardless, it's not so much. It's not colonization the way that it's presented in this game. You know what I mean, right? The colonization of Nod Cry is very much you have people like actively invading, setting up shop, right? This is not their territory necessarily. This is an autonomous region, right? And they're just taking over. I can say for Mongolia, but not Tibet. I don't know much history about Tibet, so I can't really say about that, right? So like if I'm wrong, like you could totally correct me on that. Because like I think it was internal war, the various dynasties and people taking over. Yeah, that's my understanding of it as well, right? I would imagine most of what we consider China's colonial history is related to that. But I wouldn't say the culture is, you know, colonialist, the way that they portray Nod Cry as Fatui being colonialist, right? Ghost of Tsushima, Mongols tried to invade Japan via Tsushima Island, but got by Mother Nature. Oh, I see. Yeah, I think more than colonizing, my understanding is that Japan or that China was the victim of colonization or the attempted colonization multiple times, right? For example, by Japan, right? I think by Korea, but I don't know that for sure. I feel like it's just something I've heard, right? I know they like the Mongolians had spent some time trying to like get Chinese territory as well, but aside from that, I don't really know the details, and I'm pretty sure China's never really had an expansionist history. At least expansionist is the right word because colonialist is different, right? But they never had an expansionist history. I should say that. Politics are a wasteland and a pain. I think it's important to talk about politics. I think by ignoring politics, things get worse. So the big piano as well in this area. Yeah, the giant harp. Yeah. I think it's made by the British and Japanese. Absolutely, yeah. So my point is here. I don't think the erasure of colonialist narratives is because of Chinese censorship. All right. Maybe there are other things that are as a result of Chinese censorship. I wouldn't know necessarily, but they aren't guilty of the same sins too. Yeah, no, I get that. My point is because it's not really a thing for them in recent memory, the way that like the U.S. tries to erase U.S. colonialism in third world countries. I don't imagine that's part of that. Is they're holding this Han supremacy? Oh yeah, there is that aspect of that. In that the Han Chinese really took over the entire country, right? So, anyway, there's a lot of things about that. What's your UID? I'm not accepting friend requests right now. If you really wanted to ask about it, you could ask after the stream and like my Discord or something like that. But no guarantees I'll say something about it. Smiley face. But anyway, my point is like there's some narratives that I wish that this game would tackle better or at all in general, right? But I think that like the way that they deal with their existing storylines, especially with like Not Cry, how they had so many different plot lines that were. I forgot about this. I can play that giant harp. Banger. Anyway, forgot about that. Anyway, yeah, I don't know. Like, I think this game is awesome. I forgot the point of my original discussion, to be honest, at this point, but it's okay. Just like how much story there is in the world, right? There's a song named 55 Days at Peking. It's a song of various European countries who successfully suppressed the Boxer Insurrection, which is the anti-colonial movement in China. Oh, really? That's really interesting. I hadn't heard about that. How much time does it take to generate areas like this? I would imagine a ridiculous amount of time. Art environment design is really top notch. I think especially paired with the music, right? Like, dude, the concept of like those like Genshin music to study to for 55 hours, right? It's like standing here. Hold on. The concept of like standing right here and like looking at this scene and like for like 55 hours and just listening to the OST. I could totally see that. Scares my brain to imagine the work that goes into crafting these environments, for sure. All right. And like to do all this sort of thing for me, it's really impressive that they still maintain really good optimization too, right? Like this game still runs really well on mobile devices. The storage size, especially on mobile, is very ridiculous, right? It's a lot bigger on PC. My game right now is like 100 gigabytes, something like that. But it still runs really easily on even like lower end devices, is what I've heard. Let's do like credits to be had, yeah. They're very violent. The reason is justifiable, not the means. On that side is a war, so it could be expected. Yeah. I think there's a lot of real world politics that could be summed up like that, right? Like, how do I say? The result is good, but the means are not. I think there's something to be said there. I'm not really sure if I should say it. But I have thoughts regarding that for sure. All right. Let's move. Let's change locations. Let's perceive a new one, and then let's chat. Let's chat some more. Yeah. How do I say? Yeah, it's usually very difficult to create such a big game within like reasonable and like make it reasonable to play in, right? Sorry, I love this OST. I think someone mentioned it earlier. The track on Hisey Isle is really... You can really feel the weight of it. I don't know if that makes a lot of sense, the way that I say that. But like, the way that the music is created here, you can feel the weight of that history, right? And especially like once you can find out what happened here, it puts like the entire environment into a new perspective. So these are Tartaglia my team. This is my overworld exploration team. So they're here because I like these ones. These characters are here because I like these characters. Ruining the mode? No, you're good. I'm not really sure what I should say about that. In the sense of like, and just as the means. Like, how do I say? I guess I'll say it like this. Revolution has only really ever been done successfully through force. Crisis is really good. I think it is really good. I think there is an aspect of people really liking it because of like this Eurocentric kind of perspective on the world, and that's why a lot of people do prefer this over Natlan, for example. But that said, I can't deny this music is really insane. I really like it. Living looks like either. It's just this outfit that I have on her. That's my wife. She's so pretty, isn't she? Look at her. Her and her cute little flowers and a cute little dress. Oh, look at her. Aw, look at her. Isn't she pretty? Aw. Anyway. Revolution's only stable for a short period of time. That is also true, right? But like revolution and like large scale like violent protest is often the primary way that change, like meaningful change, is enacted. And that is something that I've been thinking about recently and grappling with. I can't wait to reach Nagcry. I'm still stuck in Sumeru's quest line. I really liked Sumeru's quest line, mind you. I think Sumeru is genuinely, it's still top 3 stories in this game. Even after all these years, I find it really difficult to top Sumeru. Oh, one sec. Sorry, my brother wanted to see what I wanted for dinner. Sumeru's so good. Sumeru is one of my favorites. I think it deals with some really interesting themes, while also like, you know, it's one of the starts of managing like multiple different quest lines, right? First, not Cry, second Fontaine. I really liked Fontaine, but I actually don't think I'd give Fontaine second. And here's why, right? I think Fontaine is awesome, but I think a lot of the narrative coherence kind of falls apart upon like closer analysis, right? I think Fontaine, the last act by itself, is a masterpiece. Genuinely no notes, right? But I think if you put in the context of the rest of it, it kind of falls apart a little bit because it feels like, what's the point, almost, right? We're trying to find a way to, like, you know, get rid of this prophecy, but oh, here's a side quest, right? It's not really a side quest. It's really important to the plot, but it doesn't feel like it because it doesn't feel very interconnected, is my point, right? I think there's something very, very how do I say it? There's something a little bit sad to me about that, right? Because Fontaine to me is an emotional masterpiece in terms of like the way that it was written and the way that you learn to empathize with Farina's feelings. The way that happens is it's so like spine chilling and like heartbreaking, right? So Fontaine's really good in that aspect, but then after all that, it feels like, why did we go to the fortress of Mervide, right? Why did we solve the murders? Right? What happened to Child? Why did he get the guilty like verdict, right? These things kind of feel meaningless because of the grand finale, right? And that's my biggest issue with Fontaine. India-British separation, I believe, is largely peaceful. It could be wrong. Was it actually? I didn't know about that. I would imagine though, the empires that fell up like that. Sorry, the colonized like nations under British rule near the end of the colonial period. I imagine the separation is because, like, a direct result of the other regions being very vocally against their colonization. Sumeru is the first region to unite the EN and JV doublers to rescue Nahida and Bunk the academia. That is also true. I think the story, how do I say? Let me drink some water. There's some really interesting parallels, I think. And one thing I really like about Genshin is the way that you can look at parallels. Um, like, sorry, I had like I got brain blasted a little bit because there's a lot to talk about here. But let's talk about the moon, right? The storyline of Nikita and Columbine are also really similar. The fact that both of them are like oppressed goddesses, right? They're both kind of not really worshipped, but kind of looked down upon and kind of like holed up and held separate from their nation that they care deeply about, right? They both are referred to as the moon. They're both like, you know, yeah, they're just like, I don't know. There's something like the way that they come into themselves and regain their autonomy is really powerful for me. I really like that. Sarah was the first. Sorry, that. It's about colonialism. Yeah. The British and like Europeans and countries in general had like a race between each other to see who could colonize the most. My name is Mara was about kind of too young to Yarzad, but I'm just talking for tragedy. No, I'm so happy. My girlie Dinyarzad is okay. Did you see? She got a Valentine's Day art. So for those of you who might not play Genshin as much or who aren't as into Genshin Impact, they post a lot of like art, I guess, right? They post one for every single character's birthday, but also when it comes to like events or like yeah, events, I guess, right? Or holidays like Valentine's Day, they also post art for that, right? So for Valentine's Day this year, I really liked it. I was really okay. How do I say? I was really happy about this year because sometimes it's kind of the Valentine's Day art and posts are kind of read in a distinctly romantic manner, right? Like, oh, you know, like Ayaka. I don't think she got a Valentine's Day art, but like hypothetically, I could be like, oh, it's been so long since we last saw a traveler, you know? I dearly miss the adventures we had. Something, I don't know, something like that. All right, but this year's Valentine's Day art, to me, it reads as very like found family-esque, right? 50, I mean, what? You're so right, though. I think that's the best ship in all of Sumeru. Well, okay, that's a kind of hard thing to say, but anyway. Dinya's Adia is a really good ship. I really like that one. But I really like that the Valentine's Day art this year was all very... It wasn't very romantic, right? We had Skirk, and then hers read more like sending you a Valentine's letter because you're the first person that she can like empathize with, right? She's your first friend, or you're her first friend, right? Then you have another one with Columbina, but in that one, it very clearly shows how it's her entire story, right? In that art, it has not only her and you, but it also has the story of everyone else who has made an impact on her life, and I really, really like that, right? Who's in Valentine's Day? We have Columbina, we have Skirk, we have Dinyarzad, and we have Lapine Pauline, who's in a couple events. We're still chilling in Nodcry. We're gonna find the penguin. We're still chilling in Nodcry. Don't worry. We'll be here for a while actually, Glad app, because this is really important to me. But like, yeah, no, the fact that like all these characters are characters that the Traveler was not given and overtly like it's not a romantic Valentine's Day. It's a Valentine's Day about like family, about love that's not necessarily romantic, right? I'm gonna give Jet and Enjo Valentine's. I'm so happy about that. To be fair, I feel like last year Jet and Enjo, those are very much more romantic Valentines. Right? I feel like Jet has like romantic feelings towards the Traveler, especially a female Traveler. There's like some differences in voice lines and stuff about that. But with Enjo, that guy is down bad. That guy's down bad for the Traveler. That's crazy. Are they penguins or are they not penguins? No, wait, we do actually have penguins. They're penguins there's penguins in the volcano. We'll take a look there if you want. I read a lot of tragedy and love them, but I actively ignore them now due to trauma unless the story is really good. That's fair. I think that's very valid. If you have a lot of feelings of your own that you need to digest and go through, I think it's totally fair to not want to consume that kind of media. For me, I love myself a good tragedy. I love a good tragedy. I think having a good tragedy is really fantastic. Because it gives, like, how do I say? We'll use Fontaine as an example. I think Fontaine has a really good tragedy. And the reason for that is because tragedies give you a glimpse of a facet of a character you don't really see, right? So normally, let's say you have a character like Farina, right? She's very, like, outwardly, she's very happy-go-lucky. She's very dramatic. She's very, ostentatious, all right? But then in the frame of the tragedy, you get to see more of what she's really going through, right? And the kind of burdens that she has to go through. And I think that it's really compelling, right? It's really compelling. I love when you see a character that looks strong on the outside, but actually they're suffering on the inside, and especially if they look really cute when they're suffering, you know, just like Farina. I don't want to be mean about it, but also like, damn, that girl, oh. When she cried, I don't know, I felt something I hadn't felt before. Hello, buddy. You can say that, have you read the Metamorphosis? I haven't read the Metamorphosis, but I roughly know the gist of it. I don't think I could read the Metamorphosis. Because I don't think that's a tragedy, per se. It's more of like a philosophical, like, what if, almost? I don't know. I feel like Russian literature tends to be really dark. It has to be a good tragedy if Jones losing too much. Oh yeah, for sure. I agree with that. I think, because like you have to build up tragedy, right? The way tragedy has to be presented to you, it has to be believable. You have to like, you as the consumer, you have to believe in the premise of the tragedy. You have to empathize with the characters, right? The characters have to be likable enough for you to believe in them, right? And like, it should be fresh, right? Everybody has different feelings and everyone has different tragedies. You can't have everyone's parents be dead, because everyone experiences the death of like parents in a different way. Sorry if that's kind of close to home for you guys, but like I think that's something that Zenless doesn't really do very well, that we don't really explore how differently people experience that kind of grief, right? Because everyone's grief in Zenless feels very similar, and it feels kind of like stale, right? We want to see people growing beyond that, and we want to see people becoming more than their past, right? Sorry, going back to my notes, because I wonder, I have stuff written about that. I want to tie it back into the themes eventually, right? I just like, I don't know, especially looking at the new regions. One thing I think is really fun about Natlan that I really like is the way that the graffiti is part of their art, right? I don't know if you guys ever really looked into the archives at all or looked into the books at all, but the styles of the books are really reminiscent of where they're from. For example, this book is, you can tell it's Natlanese because the icon, you can't really see it very well because it's kind of small, but this kind of like paper, like not paper, like this woven scroll of like of a style of book is very Natlan, right? This kind of like bound book is, you know, very Mondstadtian or like Western in general, right? So a lot of Western books will be like bound books, right? If you look at like the Lyra books, they're thinner and they're bound by like this kind of like thread, which is very, you know, it's a very Lyra style, right? You know, Zuma books also have a kind of similar look to it. They're also kind of thin. They're also bound by the thing. In Kanomiya books, the Byakuya collection, those ones are like just slabs, alright? And it's really interesting. Like if you, I don't know if you can find one. This one is right to left. So this one's a light novel, I think. This one's, you can tell it's right to left. That's how it's meant to be read. And I think Sumeru books are also the same in that they're bound right to left. I might have scrolled past one. Like A Legend of Sword. A Tale of Shuri and Shirin, right? This one's also right to left. It's really interesting, just like the detail that they put into it. I think I like it a lot, right? And like I think though when you're talking about the theme of exploration, sorry. So like comment, that's really funny. Last time your dad left us and get money because my poverty. I'm sorry. I don't really believe any of us will give it to you, but I'm sorry to hear that. Sorry for laughing as well. But you'll survive without Zubai. She'll come to you in the future, I'm sure. Minecraft magic books. I read a lot and I can tell if a book ends in tragedy or not. Some authors are really drawn to misery. I kind of get that though. I kind of get that. Sometimes you read a book and you're just like, "Aw, this is too... like, there's too much chemistry between these characters right now. They're going to die." You know, sometimes you read something like that. Right? How do you get the Traveler skin? You get the Traveler skin by finishing the Nodkai Archon quest. At the end, it's pretty much at the very end of the quest. You get this. Funny enough, it's actually this description is really interesting. I'd recommend taking a gander sometime if you get a chance. But look at her, isn't she so cute? Oh my god, the little wings. I think back on the topic of like similarities, parallels, and like design philosophy, I suppose, right? I really like how you look carefully. There's a lot of similarities to like, I mean, obviously they're supposed to be matching, but like between the travelers, their outfits match a lot, right? Like this scarf part with the double feather and this hanging part is really reminiscent of Aether's original outfit, right? Like yeah, you have the aspects of like wings, which are pretty a big for Lumine's visual design language, but also you have like obviously the color, the dark color, and more like geometric shapes than you would see on her base design, right? Like these ones are more flowy and they're kind of flower petal like. This one is more like she's like more like a bird here, I guess. I don't know how to describe it. Right, you can see a lot of similarities, such as like the earring here. There you go. And like I don't know, just I don't have either, so I wish I could tell you more, but I really like that. I think they're so cute. I want to eat them whole. She's so squishy. Ooh. Okay, anyway. But yeah. Visual design language is really strong in this game. I don't know, I really like the way that there's like different flora and fauna in all the different regions. I can't kill that tree, whatever. And the way that the vegetation looks different depending on where you are. I think it's really, I don't know, it looks really cool. It really gives like a distinct flavor to all the regions, alright? Sorry, I'm looking for something right now. I'm looking for the moon. I guess I'll find it later. I also really like this track. Sorry, like the second half of the stream has been really scatterbrained because I haven't really like, how do I say? I haven't planned anything for it. It's kind of just like a generalized like, wow, I really like this, right? It's kind of a general sense of like, wow, this place is really sick and awesome. Are you in the highest settings? No, I'm not the highest settings. They're pretty high though. Whatever. Oh, there it is. Yeah, just like it makes me really happy. I don't know. I really like this game. Right? All the like, how do you say? It's like there's history everywhere you go, right? The nation whose history I'm the least familiar with is Natlan, because Natlan is very much a story about the now. Why are you killing the goat? I'll do it again. Anyway. But yeah, no, I think it makes me happy. It makes me happy. Yeah. I feel like I've yapped so much. I've said so many words in the last 2 hours, actually. I'm starting to like feel it in my voice. I wonder how bad that is. Oh, speaking of architecture, guys, in Natlan you can also see the remains of this kind of architecture. In this kind of architecture, you can see like this kind of circular shapes of it, right? And like sometimes like, you'll see like this like G kind of look, and like the split up rocks, right? It's you know, this is the Dragon Civilization's architecture, and I really like that you can see. I don't know. I talked about this earlier. I really love that you can see the remnants of the different ruins, right? You're not being confirmed. You just completed Valley 4. Congratulations to you. Minecraft end update? No, absolutely not. And you can also see it up there. I didn't even notice that you can see it from this far away. That hold on. I didn't even notice you could see this. That's really cool. I like that. I don't know, just like the world design, right? It feels so rich, right? You can see how like, is that a chest? No, it's not. Okay. Almost crashed out for a second there. Yeah, I don't know. There's just there's so much cool stuff, right? Also going through like the quest items. I do this a lot, right? But you end up collecting a lot of things from playing the game, right? I haven't even finished this, the torn pages of Thousand Nights and whatever, and the Toki Alley Tales. Jesus Christ. It's like, I don't know, you get so much stuff. Like top quality grape juice. Man. Yeah, this like storybook from this event. A lot of really pretty stuff. My Genshin counts forever bricked. What happened to you? Drifting bottle with letter. Wait, hold on, what? I didn't finish the hotel event to get the item. You didn't do what? You didn't get this? You didn't get the plum branch? What's wrong with you? Okay, no, your count is bricked, actually. What the heck? I want to read this. The Legend of the Lunar Leviathan? The thing you drink out of the strength to catch any fish. It's gonna... Race speed on the high Caribbean shore. Lunar Leviathan? Lunar Leviathan? I haven't heard about that. Man, these are so cute. And I pretend to be a Hutal. You're a Hutal main too. That's messed up. There's, I think, yeah, no, that actually bricked. What the heck? What the heck? What the heck? That's crazy. I can't believe it. Genuinely, what the heck? But sorry, and I really enjoy this. I really like it. I really like this. You look a gift envelope from Paimon. Also, every time Paimon sends me a letter or a birthday letter or something like that, I can't lie. I keep getting emo. Right? Paimon's best is better than the rest is companion. That's my daughter. Dude. I have a lot listen, I've said a lot of words and I feel like I was pretty literate for most of it. But like right now, can I like abandon all semblance of like I don't know, of well-spokenness and I don't know what's the word. But like I wanna how do I say? Oh yo, wait. Did you guys see that? On the loading screen here. Behind this is the Triquetra. What the heck? Sorry, that's not important right now. I wanna talk about can I see the cards individually here? There's kind of a theory, I guess. Like a long-standing like perspective. Or idea, thought, line of logic. I don't know, but there's been a long-standing belief that Paimon, right, the bestest travel companion. You might be the only one of countless stars, but you're Paimon's whole world. Dude, I can't read this kind of thing and be okay. I think it's really cute, especially considering how much you see throughout the story. That this tiny little thing, like, cares for you and respects you and loves you, right? Even though you do bicker like siblings. I think it's really cute and wholesome that, the way that, like, this familial relationship is kind of shown, right? Every time the traveler is not with Paimon and she grows up to be stronger, right? The first time is in the Sumeru Archon quest when Paimon, like, where Paimon worries that, like, you know, you were gone for so long that she gets really worried, and then even now, not cry when like the disaster happens, the traveler's taken away from her, and she tries her best to be strong, and she's so considerate, and she tries her best. She's my tiny little daughter, and I think I love her very much. So like the theory is that like she's gonna like grow up to betray us or whatever, or like the idea that she's not like, you know, a real person or something like that. It's, I don't know, there's a lot of like miscellaneous theories that basically end up with like us not being together. And that makes me really sad because I honestly Paimon makes me almost as emo as like seeing either and Lumine together, and that makes me really that's a lot of emotional ammo for them to use against us. Um, I don't know, guys. I don't know. She's trying to pick us up with Reddit and trying to nuke us. Yeah. Oh, my daughter, dude. Every single time like something happens and she tries to help out, even if she's not able to, right? Um, I guess this is more spoilers for the non-Cry Archon quest, but like in the part where the traveler is taken away from her and Nefer has to look into the past, into like our belongings to try and like, you know, find the traveler. One thing that struck me was like really cute and like like emo, I guess. It made me really sad. I was really sad about this. But like Paimon went on the expedition with Varka to Natlan in that time, and she brought nothing with her. She organized all the stuff that Traveler and Paimon together carried around, and she put them there for Nefer, so she wouldn't inconvenience her, so like she could find the Traveler as soon as they could, as they could, right? But like, and so the idea that Paimon like knew that she wasn't going to be helpful, and unless she did this kind of work, is really, I don't know. I thought it tugged at my heartstrings, dude. The way that she was like trying not to cry, trying to be strong for everyone. That's a lot of emotional ammo. You consider it confirmed that she's a fragment of that god? I don't think it's confirmed. I don't think anything's confirmed unless it's explicitly said. Um, but I think it's pretty plausible that she's like that's part of it, right? So the context here for people who may not know is the Four Shades, so the authorities, the creatures, the beings that hold like ultimate godlike authority over life, death, time, and space. The Four Shades. One of them is missing, and presumably has a new master, whom you know they like the Shade of Space. So Asmodee, right? Asmodee being the person that kidnapped us in the beginning of the game. Asmodee has a new master, and it's some people are speculating that a fragment of Asmodee became Paimon, right? Paimon, P-A-I-Mon. That is something that people have been saying, right? When I mentioned that the traveler's skin has a hint, has some lore. This is kind of what I was pointing at. Some people are speculating that Paimon might be a fragment of the ship's of the twins' spaceship's guidance AI. Does that make sense, guys? Like the spaceship that the twins had a system of guidance that was an AI. And some people speculate that it might be Paimon, right? There's other parts of that are also really interesting, such as the fact that the spaceship itself seems to have a will to create a world that was like perfect habitable position, like conditions for the travelers. Anyway, I'm okay, guys. Why is my daughter so cute? Why is she so cute? I don't need to change this sign. I don't know. I think about this a lot. There's such a beautiful story, I think, about the meaningfulness of the family that you choose, right? The family that you grow to love, right? We talked about this briefly about like Scaramouche earlier. I don't have the characters, I can't really show them off here, but like how his first betrayal was with his mother, right? How like Raiden A abandoned him to like in his perspective, right? How he was then abandoned by his old friends, who were killed, mind you, like not abandoned, but like he didn't really know what that meant. What's Little Foxing rocking your moon? That's her soul. Sorry about the voice crack. Oh no, that's her literal soul, actually. No joke. It's kind of awesome, actually. It's kind of peak. But yeah, I think the story about like, how do I say it? Getting 3 betrayals, finding out that all the betrayals were false, and then slowly learning to love again. Her first. That's definitely a thing I didn't expect to hear. There are 2 types of Genshin players, those who love Paimon and those who do not. Me personally, I don't understand the Paimon hate. I think the Paimon hate comes primarily from people who play on the Ian dub. And I think it's because there was a point where the EN voice direction for characters like Paimon was really grating and it sounded bad. Right? No hate to the voice actor. I'm sure as a voice actor she did fine. As a person, it's hard to say because I know there's controversy around that. Um, but like anyway, because of the replacement, most people are now feeling more fond of the girl. All right, Paimon. I think that's my daughter, and I think how do I say? How could you read Paimon's birthday letters every year and still feel hatred in your heart? Right? Like let's take a gander at this. Right? It's Paimon's birthday, right? Look at okay. How do I say? Calm. You didn't forget, did you? Of course, you're not. Of course, you didn't. Forgetting her birthday's not allowed. She's saying all sorts of special ingredients on the special day. And then she wants you to make cake for her, right? And then she makes you wishes, and then she wants the traveler to be happy every day, and then her all wishes will come true. Right? And then she wished for more stuff this year. As long as Paimon's with you, it'll come true. So no need to wait wishes on that. She wants to be together with you forever, right? Stuff like that. I don't know. She's so. I don't know, guys. I don't know, guys. This stupid little tiny fairy creature thing. I don't know. She makes me really sad and happy. I don't know. It's like I don't know. It makes me yeah. My pawn dislike came from the fact that Traveler didn't have much of a voice because of her. That's fair. I think that's a very fair thing to say. Um, I think to be fair, that is probably also a big reason of why people don't prefer Paimon. That they would prefer to hear more about the Traveler, right? And I think that's valid. I love Lumine. That's my pretty wife. All right. Look at her. She's so lovely, and I wanna nibble her. Right? She's okay. Listen, as much as I might have like talked about other girls, this one is my number one. She's my number one, my OG. She's the light of my life. She's a star in my sky. She's the I don't know the beach to my ocean, right? Or maybe the other way around. The ocean is probably more important than the beach, right? I don't know. She's like she's ethereal and she's beautiful and she's pretty and she's cute. She's lovely. She's so funny and she's so squishy. She's so squishy. I like her a lot, and I really don't think words could really like properly explain how much I do. But yeah. As much as I might have talked about other girls, this is my favorite one. This is my favorite girl. But yeah. Mahoyo already planned a tragedy involving Paimon. I hope it's not a tragedy. I hope it's only sad for like 5 minutes before they're like, haha, just kidding. Actually, Paimon gets to live with you forever, happy ever after. You know, that's all I hope. I hope, like genuinely, I think it would like break me if the choice was between Paimon and the twin. All right, the Abyss twin, because like, how do you expect someone to choose there, right? You either choose like the twin that you spent literally your entire life with, right? The person that you trust the most implicitly, even despite betrayals, right? Like how do you like do you choose that person who's been with you through like countless worlds, countless lives, countless experiences, or do you choose like the selfless love, I guess, of like a daughter like Paimon, right? Like what do you do? What do you do? You'd eat the Paimon to survive the plane crash? Honestly, I would eat myself first. Genuinely. And like, I don't know. I think that's a really that's a really intriguing premise, and that makes me really. I wanna curl my shelf, dude. I wanna curl my shelf. Thinking about that, man. I wish I could do more like literary analysis right now, but I don't think it's that interesting to do literary analysis, especially if I don't have anything planned for that. But man, I wish I could. I can only talk about like general, vague, like premises and ideas. But yeah, guys. I don't know. What is this? This is the Stadium of the Sacred Flame. see that right there? That's the sacred flame. Oh no, that's the sacred flame right there. Oh, one thing actually I think is really interesting about Genshin Impact lately is the introduction of these kind of primordial energies, right? It started in Fontaine with the primordial sea. There's chairs here. Huh. Anyway, it started in Fontaine, the primordial sea, and the primordial sea was like everywhere, right? And that was really interesting to me. And then we had Natlan where with the phlogiston, right, and the primordial flame. That was really cool as well. And now we have Kuvaki with Nodcry, right? One thing I've been thinking about lately is what it means to have these kinds of primordial energies, right? How do I say? One thing that's like a theoretical concept, like I guess if we're talking about like, oh yeah, Genshin Impact physics, right? Theory crafting. It's not really theory crafting. It's more like the logistics and like how the magic system works, right? As an aside, can I say the thing about the any sufficiently sophisticated technology is in what's the word? Indifferentiable from magic. I feel like that premise has lately really been like a thing in Genshin Impact. I don't know, that's something I've been thinking lately. Indistinguishable, thank you. Sorry, my English has been getting worse and worse. I don't know why. I don't know what's wrong with me. This is like my new language, dude. Anyway, indistinguishable magic. I feel like Genshin's been doing that lately. But one thing I've been thinking about is like, we know that the elements, like elemental energy and like vision energy, the elements are just like, you know, like light through a prism. It's just light realm energy that's separated into the elements, right? I'm here for Hutal. Where's she at? I have Hutal. She's right here.
大球球病了，二球球巧，三球球菜要，四球球嗷。
Banger. If got double impression of the highlights. I don't know what you're talking about. Sorry. Absolute cinema. Absolutely, I agree. Speaking of Futal, I want to almost know voice lines in a minute. But anyway, back to what I was saying though. We know that the elements are just like light realm energy that's diffused, and that's why we have elements, because it's like the heavenly principles kind of like they took the energy and they bastardized it basically. Base Hudor skin, I prefer her skin, but I don't have it. I could buy it, I just don't know if I want to yet. Alright, I'm saving up for Klee first, because I think I want Klee's skin a little bit more. I don't have Klee yet, but she's coming on banner soon, so I'll get Klee. Anyway, not the point. My point here is, if that's what the elements are, like just diffused light realm energy, I wonder what Kuvaki, Phlogiston, and the Primordial Sea are, because those manifest in the forms of like the physical forms of the elements, I guess, right? Like Phlogiston is pyro, like fire. The Primordial Sea is like water, right? I think Kuvaki is almost like a Nemo, almost in a way, right? I don't know if she's perfect both ways. I think she is perfect both ways, but like this skin is so cute. It does so much for her, right? Look at her. It's so cute. It's like the way that she's styled. It's so lovely, and like the fact that she doesn't have plum blossoms here, but she has it on her hat. She has it on her chest here, right? And like all this decoration on her, it's so pretty. It's so pretty. It's so tea. Also her legs, wow, beautiful. Anyway, Gradient Twin Tails. That is also true. Yeah, she still has it here, but it's like it's more, it's higher. It's, you know, more HD here, right? And that's what we like. Anyway, that's awesome. Cute shoes. She does have cute shoes. She's so awesome. She's so awesome. Also, her sick finger rings and her nails. She got her nails done in the skin. I don't know if you can see it very well, but like they're red. They're gradient red. Awesome. Awesome. I love her. I love her. Anyway, that's just something that was on my mind about her, not her, about the elements in general.
Choo-choo out?
So I wonder if we'll get like a primordial energy with all the forms of these. I heard the story got spoiled by an MCF. It's true. Yes, it is true. Let's go to that real quick. I won't make you read all of it, right? I won't make you read all of it, right? But basically, it in this context, it had journeyed through countless worlds and immense distances, etc., etc., etc. It being probably the spaceship, right? The spaceship that the twins traveled in. Let's see. The fine details of the lithosphere, atmosphere, biosphere ultimately matter little. Reshaping terrain, adjusting air, rebuilding ecosystem. Those are simple tasks for a pioneer vessel meant to bear the spark of civilization, right? Since this is from the framing of the spaceship that they're in, right? That means that like the spaceship is capable of terraforming, right? And so that's kind of the idea. The fact that like those are the two main ideas, that you have an idea, like you have the spaceship and the idea of dissociation. Point is that yeah. Genshin is sci-fi. Genshin always has been. Genshin's always been sci-fi. It's actually really clever. I think the way that they hide the sci-fi-ness of it underneath the veneer of fantasy, right? Like you look at this and this looks really fantasy, right? But then you see her and she's straight up just a mech. Right? She's straight up just a sci-fi mech. And like you're like, okay, like maybe fantasy can have robots too, right? But then you look a little bit deeper and then you're just like, wait. The Dragon Civilization, they had hand cannons. They had a machine that could literally vaporize the atoms of the entire world and homogenize everything. You know? And then you look a little bit deeper and just like, wait, this is not the first time this happened. You know? There have been like molecular atomizers multiple times throughout the history of this game, all for the purpose of saving the world, right? You look a little bit deeper and you're just like, wait a minute, it's all sci-fi. I think that's really cool, right? This like colorful, pretty, like, you know, fantastical kind of like aesthetic. It hides the like the sciencey aspect of it really well, right? Like, one thing you have to consider is one of Genshin Impact's biggest references, like one of their favorite things to pull from as a reference is Evangelion. Neon Genesis Evangelion. I will say I haven't watched Neon Genesis Evangelion, so I don't know exactly how, but I know the thing about like, you know, making everyone into a collective hive mind is part of it, right? So there's a lot of sci-fi in this game. It's really cool. It's really cool. You wouldn't know it by seeing it, but it's really cool. I think part of it is because of like the de-sciencing of everything, right? The modern civilizations are way less advanced technologically than the ancient civilizations. Neon Genesis fantasy uses skin of sci-fi, so in a sense the opposite Genshin. I didn't know that. That's cool. That's cool to think about. I didn't know that. So I guess, yeah, I guess you'd be right in that sense. That's cool. I didn't know that. I honestly, I never wanted to watch Evangelion until I started Genshin Impact, right? I keep thinking about it because a lot of the fan base keeps referencing it, so I have this kind of like peer pressure now, but maybe I will, maybe I won't. I don't know. It's a little bit past its time now, so I'm not sure how enjoyable it would be compared, like, how do I say? The TikTok Zoomer brain rot in me doesn't know if it can consume the classic mega art of the era. Does that make sense? That's kind of how I feel. Sorry for the flashbang, guys. Yeah, that one's really cool. Let's look for somewhere else. Let's participate somewhere. Let's go somewhere else. I've seen a lot. We've seen a lot in this journey, and I want to yap some more. Also, I was cutting hair. I guess it's not really relevant. I was cutting hair yesterday. I really need to like lubricate my scissors, because I keep getting bruises on my fingers from cutting the hair too much. Anyway, are Q and Coco still banned words in chat? I dropped making it back, and that whole debacle happened. Guess not. A lot of older stuff has aged much better than people assume, even though there's not much modern discussion about it. Okay, that's good to hear. It's weird sexist, but it's got its own appeal. Oh yeah, no, I get that. You kind of like when you're consuming old media, you kind of have to just like take everything with that grain of salt almost. And GE is similar. Okay, okay. Including sexism. Yeah, I mean, I feel like all kinds of media are like that, right? They're a product of their time, and so you'll always have that aspect of the, you know, like seeing that past, right? Also, ignore the fact that I just, you know, DM'd one of my friends on Genshin Impact randomly. Whatever. But if you do want a modern take, okay. They're the rebuild movies? Like they remastered it, I guess? Or something like that. Regardless, I'm not really, how do I say? I don't really mind seeing older media because I know that there is that framing of it, right? Like, yeah, it can be uncomfortable, but it's also like, you have to understand that things are changed for the better. Did not remake or master? Oh, okay. Sorry if I sound disappointed. My bad. Exposes a sequel but pretends to retell the story. Oh, what? That's crazy. It's genuinely unhinged. That's fascinating. Okay. Also, for Genshin Impact players in chat, there's a secret chest here that you guys might not know about. If you do this challenge, well, I can't do it right now, but if you do this challenge, you get from here to the end without falling, you get a chest at the end. So, secret chest, guys. You don't need to watch the originals. I think they stand alone. Oh, okay. That's cool. I didn't know that. I didn't know that was a thing. Anyway. Special chest. Yeah, I remember that secret chest really well, and I can't remember why. Maybe it's the PTSD. But yeah, no, I think, oh wait, one thing I wanted to talk about earlier. But we didn't really get to. I have a really important voice line to show you guys. Not that one. That's cute though. This one. Banger. What's your favorite zone song? Like my favorite region, my favorite musical region in Genshin Impact. If you were to ask my favorite regional, I think my favorite music region in Genshin, I think it has to be Not Cry, because I've saved the most tracks from that album. I've saved like, okay, if the Not Cry OST is like 40 songs, I think I've saved like 30 of them. Other albums I have like maybe 20 out of 40 saved, or 15 out of 20 saved, or 15 out of 40 saved, right? I've genuinely saved most of the Not Cry songs. Port Almost clears. Port Almost also is really good. That's for sure, yeah. Like individual tracks, there's so many of them. I don't think I could choose a single favorite, right? There's so many of them that are so peak. I love this one. Banger. She has such good voice lines. Sorry, I want to listen to them again. She's so cute. It's so funny that the titles aren't even similar. Snow. Snow. And then the voice line, she's getting that paycheck, dude. Actually, like, what? Yeah, she's so peak. I'm looking for another one, sorry. Banger! She's so peak. Why is she amazing? Why she's awesome? Why is she awesome? Just kidding, of course she's awesome. I love her so bad. Are you sure this isn't your daughter too? No, I just love her really bad. Listen, a girl can have many loves, right? I don't think she has any other lines. Yeah, okay, the rest are just like regular lines, I think. But she's peak. She's peak. She's peak. I think I don't like calling her out on this, all right? Because I think it's fine to like a character just for the vibes, and I think her vibes are immaculate. But I think her character is so interesting, right? I think her premise is so fascinating. How do I say? When I was talking about philosophy earlier, the fact that like Genshin is inherently a really philosophical game, in that they really like to talk about different aspects of like ideas, right? For example, Hotal is a practice of philosophy on death, right? The idea of death, right? And like the idea of like, yeah, people die, but it's part of life, right? And you can't really die. You can't really die without living. And so therefore, a death and a funeral should be the celebration of that death, right? And of the life they lived. Right, and the fact that a lot of people have this like kind of taboo kind of feeling about death, like, oh, but it means that they're gone forever. For her, it's more like this person lived a glorious life, and we should celebrate that, right? And this kind of idea that she honors like passing in her own way, right? And it doesn't mean that it's disrespect. It's just a different philosophical take on death, and I think it's so cool. I think she's so interesting for that, right? The fact that she wants to live her life to the fullest, but she still has this reverence for something like death, even though it's not in the way that you would classically consider reverence for death. I think she's so cool. I think it's really interesting. I think it's really philosophically interesting, guys. Right? Like I think all characters have this kind of like intrigue about them that makes me really fascinated about them. And this is something I don't this is why I don't feel connections to some characters in other media. Right? Like I feel like I love making fun of Honkai Star Rail, so I'll do it again, right? But let's say like Finan, right? I like Finan. Is Finan too recent? I don't know. Do people know anything about Amphorius? Let's say like what's one that's more common, I guess. Um, 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 um. Who's a popular character? I guess like Penacony. Their characters are kind of philosophical. I just don't like the setting in Penacony, so like that's kind of the issue. I guess I'll talk about Finan, right? Finan's thing, the reason he's an interesting character is because he's experienced no struggle and he still continues to carry on forward, right? And his philosophy is like, you know, like his willpower, right? Of like breaking through hatred. I think it's cool. I don't know. I think that because it's kind of like more straightforward. I don't find it as interesting, I guess. Maybe I'm getting it wrong, and maybe I don't really understand it the same way that other people who do like Finan do. But I don't like him. I don't know. It's not as interesting to me. It's not interesting to me. Penacony getting down to a philosophical debate, yeah. And I think the reason I like Penacony is because I think the debate was kind of stupid. I think the philosophical debate was kind of stupid. I'm not gonna lie. Why does life slumber? Because we have to wake up eventually. No, that's not an answer. That's not an answer. Is that for his own debate? Yeah, no, I have a lot of debates. I have a lot of criticism about that. How hard to get in Wuthering Waves before dropping it? I never played Wuthering Waves. I didn't feel like it fit with my preferences in gaming. Right? Like, in general, I'm not really the biggest fan of the character designs, and that was probably, like, the biggest reason I would start, right? Character designs and, like, the vibe of the character would be the biggest reason I would start a game, I think. Wua did not have that aspect for me. Even later on, when they did release characters, I was like, oh, they're kind of cute, right? Like, Phoebe. I think Phoebe's kind of cute. I never felt like the interest in starting it because of the things that I heard people talk about regarding the story, and specifically in the fact that it's kind of episodic, and that things don't like you know, characters are introduced for their character arc and then they're kind of discarded. That's what I've heard, and that's not really the kind of storytelling that appeals to me. Right? That's kind of my vibe. I would prefer not to engage in that kind of like I don't know, like internet debate, right? I just don't know if it suits my preferences in general, right? Props to those who do. I think the animations are really cool. It's just really sad, you know, if you have a really cute character that you like and then suddenly they're not there anymore. That's how I feel. All right. I have characters. I have friends who pretty enjoy the game, pretty well enjoy the game, I have friends who enjoy the game though, so you know, I will consume it in like by mitosis via mitosis. Demoted into a side game. Wait, that's so funny. Yeah, okay, that's interesting though. That's interesting though. I do think the animations are probably the thing that would carry the game the most. But also, it's like, how long could you look at the flashing lights before you start getting migraines, you know? Um, I think, like, I've seen complaints about, like, Genshin Impact characters having, like, similar animations. But I'm not gonna lie, if you're not really gonna use the character's animation that much, like, if you're not gonna use the charge attack that much, I don't really mind if it's kind of similar to other characters, right? Like, I don't know. I mean, to be fair, these ones are all unique because they're 5 stars, but you know. Anyway. Let's see. Let's do one more thing. Let's do like one more thing before we end for the day, because we're about to hit 3 hours, and I'm feeling the strain on my voice. All right. I hope you guys have enjoyed the yapping so far. It's just kind of been like looking at the pretty sights a little bit, and like me talking about the miscellaneous things that catch my attention. All right. Which I understand may be a bit hard to follow. All right. Show me your Genshin factory layout. I got you. Hey, thanks for the stream regardless. No worries. I'm glad that you guys came for it. I felt like this would be kind of like, I don't know, like an unpopular stream because I don't really play Genshin Impact on stream very often, so. Are you alone in Stanley Vegan Seed Planet? Sometimes they're not planning enough. This is my Paimon shrine. It takes a little bit, there's still some work for it to get bigger, right? It's like Paimon. I can't wait till she eats the entire planet and grows to be like 5 bajillion times her size right now. But this is my Paimon shrine. I'll add more when there's more Paimons to be put in my house. This is my giant bird. Yeah. This is my commemorative Zhongli statue. Everyone's so jealous of Enfield that they're doing production sims. Are they actually? Although I'm not good at keeping up with Genshin story, it still holds a special place in my heart. Yeah, I totally get that. I think it's hard to keep up with any story game in general, but I think if you have the time to play Genshin for the story, I think it's really worth it, alright? I like this thing. This is my token little scrungly boy. Alright, it's supposed to be an R like this little fellow. But you know, they fumbled it a little bit, and that's my little scrungle. Where do you get the Zhongli statue? I think this is a collaboration in like 2021. When's the next Tooth banner? I want to say it's a good chance she'll be around in like 2-3 months, right? Maybe 2-3 months is a bit generous. Maybe like 3, 4, or 5 months. 3 to 6 months, I think, is probably when you'll see her next. That's my presumption. All right. Yeah. This is my flower. I have a couple of them. This is my, I don't know, thing. I don't know. This is my other little guy. He's kind of mad. These are my other little guys. I love... Oh. Dude, actually, I'm actually crashing out. These are my little guys. Look at this. This makes me really happy. I feel a very... how do I say? I feel an indescribable joy on this. Probably Leo Chronicle. Does she even get her own banners anymore? No, she doesn't. She would be on the Leo Chronicle, which would be... I mean, I think that's fine, honestly. Chronicle banners are really good value for your money, so... Does Chocolate consume the Velazines? Absolutely not. That's my daughter right there. That's my daughter, my mare. Alright? Look at her and her little paintbrush and her little dog that she adopted. Right? That's Lumine. That's Paimon. Look how cute they are. Look how little...
请不要遗漏摩拉、螺丝、齿轮、矿石、玩具、软糖、零食、发圈、袜子、拖鞋等细小物件。
Girl? It occurs to me that Paimon's in a completely different art style than the Traveler. Like, messier almost, as if Mamere can't really understand her shape. Anyway. You say you want to eat all your daughters and... Okay, but it's different. Okay, but it's different, right? Like, me wanting to eat my daughters is one thing, but like, I couldn't eat Mamere. Look at her, she's so cute. This is my token Inazuma thing. My Inazuma backsplash, right? It's got the art, and if you put, I think if you put Hydro on this. I guess it doesn't work in the T-pop version, huh? Okay, whatever. Calls them cute, but doesn't even use them. Suspicious. What do you mean? I use my wives plenty. This is my Bennett. I put him in a box. Here's my Dodoko stash. I stole them from Klee. A lounge chair for the walls. Some posters. My Madame Farazan plushie. My commemorative Madame Farazan plushie thing that bounces around. Miscellaneous other things. Little hot spring. Yeah. That's how my teapot's going. This is how my factory is going. Yeah. There's like more, but it's kind of far away. But anyway, you can yap a little bit more. What else was I saying? I think something else that I missed. No, yeah. I don't know. I've never changed my teapot. Oh, we're safe. Banger. Oh, we're cooked. Awkward. I remember the actual Bitcoin money barely made in the teapot. Yeah. I know people used to. I never did because I just like I made enough furniture, but still. Yeah. Now I just have my teapot full of like commemorative items, right? Like I have my giant cat statue of some fireworks. Theoretically, you can watch them. There you go. Oh. I have my infinite Fanta machine. Wait, I've never used this. What? Use the machine? Common logic would dictate that one must insert mora equivalent to the price of at least one bottle per Fanta in order to operate it. Nor will the machine provide change should you insert too much. Oh, as we are within the realm within, according to Tubby, the materials used by machine will produce Fanta are all from adeptal energy. So you can use infinitely. Yeah! As the gas and liquid being blended at high speeds causes the machine to tremble and quiver, lest the spell rumble. As though cheering celebration, a bottle of Fanta Classic appears in the vending machine's product dispenser. Awesome. Something's not quite right. Because it's fake. Okay. And the idea is that you have to give the bird more soda in order to make it to recreate it more thoughtfully? That's crazy. Wait, I didn't realize there's so many options for this. Let's listen to the machine. The clamor of internal machinery operating ceaselessly, something is amiss. Your ears discern amongst the noise what seems to be an instrument of leaves, like discord among the harmony, low tones, and distant melodies? That's crazy. That's never. That's tea. I'm gonna have to come back sometime to operate that some more. I'm so curious now. I have some eggs, a little penguin, another bird, that one. Disturb the great owl spirit. Banger. Banger. Awesome. Man, I don't even remember half of these items, to be honest. It's kind of like... kind of nostalgic in a weird way. There's my other really giant statue and my other Chinese backsplash thing. I got some more little guys over here. This one I can punch. I got a flower carriage for my daughter Nahida. Another lantern right thing. I should probably display some figures, huh? I like trains. And then there you go. Nice. Oh, I also have a train here. Oh, I forgot about that. How exciting. How lovely. Man, I don't even remember any of this, dude. I remember where this is from. I just don't remember putting it down here. Fascinating. Anyway, sorry. I feel like I've overstayed my welcome now. That's a lot of teapot stuff. I have more, right? Like the island where I put all of my little guys. There's also literally not. Oh, there's some grass here, I guess. Well, there's nothing on this island except for all these fellows, because they get to sit here and they farm for its trust, and that's all they get to do. I've never talked to them ever, right? They're just here. I can't believe you're on this. You'll get your own channel. I don't know. I feel like I've been yapping a lot. I don't know. Look at my little guys, though. It's like a whole collection of them. Okay. If you look from afar, it's kind of menacing, actually, right? Like, if you like look over here, like over here. Wow. Look at them, huh? Standing there menacingly. Are the new characters take up more teapot limit than older ones? Actually! All the extra polygons. I wouldn't be surprised, but that is surprising. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, but like, now that you say it, but that's still a little bit surprising. Come on, spin around, little buddy. Come on, little buddy, spin around. Come on, white boy. Come on. Sorry, that's kind of mean. That's kind of mean. I should stop doing that. Anyway. Yeah, I think this game is really cool. I think, how do I say it? There's a lot of people who've grown estranged from this game for various reasons. Right? Maybe it's too big. There's too much to play. There's too much story content. Maybe you don't feel invested in it very much. I think, regardless of where you are in life, I think this kind of game is a really good. It's a really good one to just like, you know, enjoy passively, right? Obviously, you want to do stuff like character building and all that, and like, don't say that I haven't been, right? These ones are like being built right now. But like, I've been building these guys. And so like, obviously I have an easier time, and so that's part of why people would have trouble with this. But you know, and I understand that, but I think this game, even in a vacuum without all the characters, I think it's still a really worthwhile experience, because I think this game has something really special that a lot of other games don't, right? This is like an aspect of like storytelling, an aspect of like I don't know, a growth, I guess, that I don't feel like as I don't see very much in a lot of games, right? I only ever feel like the game is getting better as opposed to falling off a cliff and dying. Right? And that's really cool for me. I really like that for them. Alright? And so I hope that I can continue to play this game more in the future. I hope you guys, you know, learn to appreciate something more about this game. Maybe because of watching the stream, maybe not. Alright? I think there's something a lot really, I mean, maybe next time if I have like a bit more of a script prepared, I could talk more about like plot lines and stuff, but I don't think I will. I like keeping this game as kind of like my private experience. It's really fun. For me that way. But yeah, next time I'll go back to Enfield or something like that. I don't know. And I'll see you guys for that. We'll do some what's it called? What's the word? The character missions. Is that what they're called? I don't know what they call it. I've never found the word for it. But next time I'll play somewhere. No, wait. No, this weekend we'll play regular Arknights. Enfield, I think we'll play sometime else during the week. I'm not really sure, but whatever the case, I hope you guys stick around. Thank you guys for joining me. And I hope you guys have a good day. And I'll see you guys next. Try the collab. The Arcanist collab. Yeah, we're working on that over the weekend. We did the main stages, not the EX stages yet. So we're gonna be doing that soon. So yeah, we'll do that over the weekend. And I'll see you guys next time. Bye bye. Bye bye. Bye bye.